I'm not hearing or seeing anybody, you guys there.
Fishing for everybody.
Actually, we're not talking too
Morning,
much.
Paul.
Oh, good morning, everybody.
Validation.
Oh, I got
Sure,
your class.
sure.
Gonna be a busy one.
Busy day today, yeah, for sure.
But, no, Cameron, I just don't understand, but maybe after the 5-year program is up,
I can hear you.
if the government still.
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
That in the legislation.
You gotta check something. No, it's my computer saying. Okay, cause this is on. No, I know. Sorry.
Can you hear me?
That's always kind of flabbergasted me. It's like,
You wanna test for me again, Paul?
Yeah, why is it?
Can you hear me?
Much better, but yes, that's fine. That's the mic.
Can you hear us, Paul?
I can hear you, yes.
Good.
perfect.
Okay. All right, Lauren.
Okay, we'll call this to order, 9, whatever,
30.
30. And the agenda, I don't know, there is some more additions that we put on there. What's it?
No, we just need support. Just that.
Supporting documents.
Supporting documents for things already there.
Okay. So, at the previous minutes,
We're approving the agenda as presented then?
yes.
Who's moving it and who's?
Sure.
Okay.
All in favor? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the previous minutes, I had a few things, and it was just for information. With golf cart bylaw, the county is also going to be in the process of possibly making it to go through to Roshan Sands,
Yes.
but they have to change the speed limit on the road.
Yes.
And that's where we always talk about a trail going down the Boat Launch Road and ditch. It could continue up there on their properties, but that's just in the wind.
And I have a little bit of a slight update for that, so when you get to your report, bring it back.
And the dust control is in
I'll talk about
report,
it. in
yeah.
your report, if you want.
And the docking system at Roshan Sands. For the personal watercraft for the rescue.
That's in my report.
Right. Okay, so that's all I pretty well had. Was there anything from you guys?
No, I didn't have anything to add.
No, I'm good with the agenda as it is.
That's it? Okay. So want to make the motion?
I'm gonna make this one.
Paul,
Okay.
take this one? Okay.
All in favor? Thank you. So
That was for the minutes.
Yeah.
that was for the minutes, yeah. So delegations, we have Cam Russell from the RCMP detachment here to give us some information. Do you do it quarterly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's
We're a
been,
bit behind. We had all the other stat stuff previous, and this is just the general.
for sure, yeah, and I apologize, I missed a lot of the last meeting. I went on a holiday.
You're not allowed.
I know, so it seems like that sometimes. Yes, we send out our report quarterly, and yes, I mean, the stats have been fairly status quo. We haven't seen a rise or a super huge dip either, so which is a good thing because our crime stats are about, rurally and municipally in town. So things have been pretty good that way. We have been seeing it uptick a little bit with some business lately because of summer and a lot more people coming and going through town and people coming to the lake. I haven't had a ton of calls at the lake by any means, but
So sorry to interrupt. Can you talk just a tiny bit louder? It's not fully hearing you.
yeah.
There, how's that?
Is that a little bit better?
Much better.
Much better, okay. We will be focusing on the lake a little bit more, like starting this weekend, actually. I'm gonna start getting the guys to come out here and patrol plans and stuff so that we're more presence. Because I know that our seasonal villagers are starting to come back to the lake and that sort of thing. I think the level of the lake has definitely caused a big difference in how many people are coming here, but we'll see as the months go on. What else can I tell you? Our detachment manpower is very good. We're down a couple of positions, but 2 for that have been off duty sick for quite some time, but we've been managing without them, no problem. We have heard there's another person coming to us, but not sure when that's gonna be. So, and no transfers in the near future. So what you see is what you get for now. We just finished our, stand up and show you, finished our body camera training. So we've all got these now on us, and it's required by law and policy that we carry them. So everybody that encounters the police now around here will be recorded, just so you know. Our traffic section is pretty well decimated. They're not focusing on any of that in RCMP right now, because I think mainly there's been absolutely no increase in budget for the RCMP in the last few years. The province hasn't given us any extra money, and the focus on the sheriffs is so much right now with the premier, and that's what she wants to focus on, and it's not giving the RCMP any extra money. So basically our stellar traffic section, the 3-person traffic section, there isn't anybody in it right now, so, which is unfortunate, because they could certainly come out and help at the lake and other places like that with the types of challenges that we're facing. So hopefully in the coming months, if that doesn't change, we might get a little bit of push from our municipalities and say, hey, how come these positions aren't filled? What's going on? Let's go. Let's get some people in here. Might make a difference. Because I don't think you want the sheriffs coming out here.
So from a Summer Village perspective, our main concerns are, I'm asking,
Mhm.
are alcohol related and what was the second one? Sorry, that vandalism theft.
Yeah.
Would you say those are the 2 main ones?
Oh, I would say so. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. As for vandalism and theft, man, very, very little has been reported to us anyways. White Sands, Roshan Sands, Old Max, all the way through. We haven't had anything really. A few suspicious persons calls, pushy salespeople with alarm systems, I've heard, but other than that, it's been pretty good. But I mean, as the summer months continue on, and the golf carts are now going to be a thing, I think the alcohol use and that sort of thing is going to be more prevalent, and maybe not more prevalent because it was happening before anyways, but something that we need to keep our eye on for sure.
But, at least the system is there.
Yeah.
As it wasn't before, so now it's easier for you folks to do whatever you have to do. And I think it's a good thing. And there is not, I've only got maybe 2 calls of people that were a little concerned about it. But, like, you can't have a 6 or 8-year-old kid driving a bunch of other kids with them things. And it was understandable when I started to give them the reasons why.
Yeah, it seems to me that it should be fairly commonsensical, but to others it's not, and I don't know. It's hard to fill that gap, but
Yeah.
that's just one of the challenges. How many people have registered?
31.
Oh wow,
31. Yeah, one have registered. We're still getting,
good.
well, one's pending. Yeah, one's pending right now, so it'll be.
So good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I talked to John last week at Roshan, and I think they've only had 7 or 8, so not nearly as much interest, which is interesting.
We've had huge.
I think we have quite a few more golf
Yes.
carts in our community than the
Yeah.
other as well.
Between golf carts, UTVs, we have actually high usage here.
Yeah.
And that's why moving forward with putting things into where we would stop people from going on reserves and
Mm-hmm.
the risks of fire, putting it more on the roadway and making it in line to each other was the best move.
There you go.
Yeah, and then if the people from the back lots had to go to the beach with their vehicles,
That's the
then
biggest.
the roads would just be plugged.
Sure.
Because we'd have corrals down at all of the beach access that they can get their machines through, but they can't go on the shore.
Yeah.
So sometimes down by your place, there might be 10 carts on it.
Yep.
Well,
Some up
weekend,
above and some down below.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems to be managed quite well.
yeah, and self-policed,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
because some of the mothers won't put up with.
Good. They're the scariest ones.
But there are certain things that still, like the incident we had on Friday. 3 people on a UTV, 3 adult people on a UTV. And
Yeah.
alcohol related. That's a bit, I have seen underage driving
Mhm.
in vehicles too,
Oh, in vehicles.
yes. So, it's just getting that.
Anything goes with the lake, right?
Yeah, it's getting an education out that what you do on your private property is one thing, but when you go out onto the roadway, there's.
Definitely.
There's still, yeah, there's still dangers there.
Well, I encourage you to let us know about certain incidents like that so that we're aware. You know, if you can get names and license plates and that sort of thing, it's even better. Then it gives us more of a starting point. But if we don't know about it, we can't help fix it, right? Again, we're going to start to focus more on patrolling out in the lake areas and that sort of thing coming up here. But we're spread pretty thin, as you know. On a regular day, there's usually 2 or 3 members working for the whole detachment area. So from Bymore to here, that's a big area and we've been busy in town with a lot of things. There was a big ball tournament a couple weekends ago. This past weekend was the high school rodeo and various other events that take place that draw us to the majority of the crowds, right? So but if there's concerns, you make a call, then we are much more obligated to come out and do a patrol, right?
Yeah. And I think people have to understand, if you see things, you should make the call.
Yep, yep.
Because it's the stats that help.
It's right. That's right. The stats help. And again, suspicious activity is always, it's important. If it turns out to be nothing, so what? Doesn't matter. We'd rather know about it than not.
Yeah.
And you know your neighbors and who's who, and if somebody's not fitting in, we should know about it, because that could be a link to a whole other, string of crime that happened somewhere else that you wouldn't be aware of, right?
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, I think, and that's about it, and we could probably talk for an hour or 2, but there's always issues, and at least we have the connection with the detachment through you, so
Absolutely. Yeah.
that's an important thing.
My door's always open, my phone's on, yeah, definitely call me, and if I'm not available, I'll definitely find somebody that can help, so, yeah, no problem at all.
Any educational materials that you could provide to me would be beneficial. We'll post it.
Okay,
It would cut down my workload if you could provide it.
Regarding what?
Just even more education on the UTVs and.
we won't have
Especially-
anything on the golf carts,
No.
because that's a new thing, but
Yeah.
yeah, definitely, I can check into some off-highway vehicle stuff for sure.
Alcohol, things like that, just anything that's simplified.
Okay.
And
And
easy
to the point.
to just get to the point.
Seeing a lot of people, because they'll have a bit of a thought process, I guess you call it, because when you're on a golf course and you're driving golf carts around a golf course, you can legally consume liquor because you're on
Correct.
private property and that sort of thing. So people that are now legally driving in the village may think that it's okay. So yeah, we should post something out there to make sure it's crystal clear
Yes,
that that's not the case.
it's not about,
Well, and link both into it.
yes, yes,
The off-road and
Yeah.
and the golf cart, say neither of these are, and as well as an automobile, but neither
Yes.
of these are allowed to have alcohol.
Yeah.
That's right.
One, right.
That's
You're
right.
taking it down to the beach and it's sealed, that should be, oh, no, I don't know if you're allowed that.
Has to be away from like your vehicle, right?
Can't be in reach of the driver, but with a
Yeah.
golf cart, if it's in the back little
Yeah, it
cubby
is,
and it's sealed, but they're not allowed to have liquor down at the beach
Right.
anyways.
Okay, that's why I kind of paused halfway through that.
not on public land, so I'm not gonna even say anymore, and I don't know that.
So, but if you're going from one house to the other, maybe that would be an option for you there. But then, of course, while you're under the influence, you shouldn't be driving home. So,
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Rumblings in the social media world, I don't know if it's true or not. Is there any changes to laws in July 1st, like lowering of alcohol limits and stuff?
I've heard some rumblings about that too, actually, and nothing's come out to us.
Okay.
So that could be just a social media thing.
Okay, I just
But
want to double check, cause
I'll
it's like 0.05, I saw.
Yeah, my wife saw that too, it's plate, it's a false plate
Okay.
at this point.
Okay. Okay. Awesome.
Okay. Well, folks, again, my door's always open, my phone's on, so give me a shout if anything comes up and we'll be in touch soon. You already did your AGM, didn't you?
No, we're
no,
doing it at the end of the month.
Sunday,
Sunday the
29th.
29th.
Oh, on the long weekend.
Yeah, are you available?
I could be, would that be something that be?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It would,
It's
we'd
not
like to
shot.
have fire, police and whatever else, but it as a kind of, just to give some advice and kind of what we just did here.
We'll email you all the information, because I'll also be here at the shop.
What time is it at?
9:30.
Okay. Yeah, we'll be able to send a rep for cert if it's not me. We did actually last year, we did Roche Sands and Buffalo Sands, and I think there was another one here at the same day. So we're supposed to spread over the thin end, but we'll focus on White Sands this year because we didn't make it to that one. So. Okay, folks, thanks.
Thank
guys.
you.
Have a good day.
This is Tracy and Luke.
Yeah.
Tracy, before you guys can unmute yourselves.
Hey, yeah, and Tracy's over here as well. Just wanted to introduce ourselves. My name is Farouk. I'm the senior deployment manager for Explore for the project in Alberta. And then Tracy, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thanks, Farouk. Hi, everyone. My name is Tracy Shalafu. I'm with our Municipal Relations Department and here today to make a presentation on our project into the village of White Sands.
Okay, our introductions, I'm Lawrence Thurston. I'm presently the mayor at White Sands.
Dan Zendel, presently the council.
And Paul Ashford, presently also a counselor.
I will
Awesome.
Meet the CAO, which we've had conversation.
Yes, yes.
Awesome.
Nice to meet you, everyone.
Well, shall I share my screen? Do I have that ability? Let's send request.
Yeah, give me a second. There you go.
All right. So let's do this.
For some reason, don't see your screen, but if everyone else does, then that's fine.
No, we don't see it yet.
Nothing
mine,
yet. Okay. Give me 1 second. I probably needed to select the screen that I wanted to share. Okay, so do this. Do this. There we go.
There you go. Yes.
Okay. So I'll put this in presentation mode. Okay. Can we see that okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So Explore is a rural fiber provider. We've been providing fiber to rural customers across Canada since like 19 years ago. So about 2004 or 5, somewhere in there. So we've developed our own customers. We've acquired other companies and their customers along the way, and we just expanded the business out from Ontario to now be in. I think we're in 9 provinces. It shows BC, but I haven't seen any of that yet. I'm not going to doubt that, but for sure we're in 9 provinces working on projects. And so we were a satellite company for many years. And then we started in the acquisition of other companies, we started acquiring networks, and included in that was some fiber. And to build the business, we were approached a bit on other projects across Canada that were funded programs from the provinces and Canada to bring fixed fiber, so fiber wired network to communities. Because it's a much more reliable network, and in times of mass use like we had during COVID, it exposes the weakness in the existing networks. And so I think the government of Canada and the provinces got together and wanted to build out these fiber networks. And so We became part of that and started bidding on programs across the country, and now we're in Newfoundland, Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick, Quebec, Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, as a result of doing work on those programs. And the current one that we're working on that impacts White Sands is the UBF, so the Universal Broadband Fund program. And we put in a bid for lots in Alberta, and this is part of that work that we were awarded. So the government will provide a subsidy to go and bring fiber to, we'll call it very rural customers that fall below the level of interest that a Rogers / Shaw or TELUS would have. And so in order for us to be able to make a business case in companies like ourselves to bring fiber, there has to be a subsidy. So we explained the project in this manner to the communities we're going to work in, so we can get their buy-in, so to speak, and to work with us to do this as cost effectively as we can to bring fiber to your community. And I have a map at the end that shows your village specifically, but the bullet points there are kind of self-explanatory. I'll leave you with a copy of this. I won't take up your time explaining all of these, but yeah, we're about a $3 billion company now. We started out quite small 20 years ago, but through funded programs like this and just acquisition and investment, we've grown to well over 300,000 customers. So Universal Broadband Fund in Alberta is a joint federal provincial initiative with the Government of Canada and the Government of Alberta, contributing $780 million to improve high-speed internet across rural, remote and Indigenous communities. This funding supports projects that bring internet across areas with speeds currently below 5010 megabits per second, aiming to reach the federal target of 5010 for all households by 2030. So we're a part of that program. The most important part of this is that our program runs to March 31, 2027. I don't know how much building will get done in 2027 because it's going to be winter months. Might be some finalizing of the network at that point, but most of the construction will happen this year and next during construction season. This is a map that basically shows all these purple areas that are in zones that we were awarded as part of the program. And you can see yourselves on that map, and I think it's going to be somewhere in this area right here. And the way the program works, we're going to connect 8,800 homes in Alberta. The technology is wired, so fiber wire to the home. The number of build kilometers in total is 1,429. And it's the UBF program. So this is important. So when building these networks, we need the flexibility that gives us, I guess, the ability to manage our own project. So we will determine which build methodologies that we're going to use. So we will use a combination of existing infrastructure, which would be something like Fortis poles or ATCO transmission poles, the smaller wooden poles. And so there is a communication space for telecommunication companies like ours, and we would occupy that space if they're available. And if they're available, they have to meet the standard, which is an industry standard that would allow us to be on there. Sometimes the poles are either too old, too short, or they just can't handle any more weight, so they don't meet our requirements at that point. Where we might install new poles, but typically it's going to be a plowing project. Now, in all cases, we're looking to plow, and if we can't plow for reasons of obstructions like trees, driveways, utilities in the right of way, we will directional bore. And so those are the methods that we use to build out this project. And this is what White Sands looks like. So we'll be coming in on this road here, and connecting a few homes along the way, and following this road. I'm sorry, I don't know the highway numbers or the road numbers, but as you can see, you know, the blue line is the fiber line, and we're going to bring it right into the village and connect these homes here. So that's the goal. At some point, as a company, Farouk and I are part of the build team, so we're not involved in marketing. We don't usually know much about marketing. We can certainly find out information, but one of the most common questions we will get is what is the pricing? Now, because we work in a competitive environment, there's no way that we'd be able to come in, you know, jack the prices up and charge you, you know, 30% more than a TELUS or a Shaw would. We're going to be market competitive, so we'll be charging basically what the market currently pays for internet services. And somebody from the marketing team will definitely be reaching out to the community in a number of ways. So they will have phone numbers at some point to a bunch of the residences and be able to make phone calls to do their marketing campaign. There will be mail outs. And if they can't reach people by phone or mail, they will possibly even door knock. But those are some of the marketing methods that we're aware of. But at this point, we are open to any questions that you have, and feel free to ask.
I have two, and I think I've been fairly clear about it. The first is this a proprietary, or can a competitor connect into the system? Or if you're not an XplorerNet customer, can others use this, or is it only exclusive to your customers?
Yeah, it's kind of an industry standard that we do not share networks. Coming from the world where we would acquire tower sites for Rogers, Bell, TELUS, Shaw, Freedom, they will co-locate on towers. That's about the extent of the sharing. Every once in a while, we will co-locate in a conduit, but we never share actual fiber network. I know the CRTC is potentially pushing us in that direction at some point in the future. I don't know if and when that'll happen, but yeah, typically nobody will be using that. This is proprietary. This is our baby.
If you go past my house, I have to use you. I can't use a competitor.
If we connect to your house with this network, you have the choice if you want to use it or not. You don't have to take services from Xplore.
No. Yeah, but it's the only choice.
I mean,
Okay.
if another, sorry, what I mean is if there's another competitor, an ISP, builds to your house and you have the option to go with Xplore or another competitor, you could choose. It's not it's not to us.
Line. You couldn't use this line.
Yeah,
No.
the conduit, what we're placing is all our funding, and as you know, the UBF program, it's partially funded. It's not a full funding, so we won the bid to do this portion of the bill that the government subsidizes us to a certain amount, like 50% or less. The rest of it is our money that we're putting in to build the network. So yeah, it's not a fully funded program by the government, and yeah, everyone builds their own network.
So it's not like the electrical where I can choose any provider because the main lines are put in by Fortis and I use whoever.
No, that's not the case with internet providers.
No, that's fine. The second question I had was in your map, you excluded certain areas, actually. I'm just curious to know why. I don't know if you have that map and you can pull it up, but
yeah. So and I could and Tracy could add a little bit of color as well once he pulls up the map. But I could speak to that. So the way the UBF program actually works is that the sections that the government identified, as you know, it's really expensive to build underground fiber to a home, and a business runs on the ROI potential possible income that you would build to it, right? So the government actually subsidizes it. This is the reason the government subsidizes, is to be able to fund enough so that there is an ROI possible. So this program, the UBF program, the government is the one that gave us the houses that are there. It's not our choosing. We bid on it, a section. The government had already identified the houses or premises that have not the 50/10 minimum service that the government deems is required, that they want to provide to everybody. So they chose the areas for us. We won the bid, and our obligation is for March 2027 is to be able to deliver. It's a very tight timeline, as you know, and budget is very tight. So to deliver these premises, right? That doesn't mean that once we finish our obligation and we have our network and our main backbone there, we won't be able to expand and service other areas, right? On our basically our own, known as go it alone, right? But for this program itself, we're bound to get the plan that the government set in front of us for the
Yeah,
March
it was just,
2027.
it was just interesting that the part that was excluded is the most populous part.
And one of the reasons might be there might be, and I'm not exactly sure, but there might be another ISP provider that won that section potentially, right? So Explorer won this section of the bid. Another ISP provider won another section. There is also a different program which is fixed wireless. So this is fiber to the home, but there's also fixed wireless, which is a different type of service, where there's towers sending out
Well,
service.
well, Farouk, it's hard to tell on the map that's shared on the
That's
screen
not
right
bad.
now, but it was a lot clearer on the map that's in our agenda package. But it seems pretty clear that these lines came through, and I can totally understand being designed in a certain way to maybe reach the certain maximum number of properties with the capital that you have available for it, but it is excluding chunks of the village. And when you look at your map, I'm sure there's lots of side roads and other residences that are a little bit further off that don't get it. But the thing that I struggle with, and I think Dan's saying the same thing, is how do we take this to the residents of our village and say, well, you get it, you don't. I doubt that it's like you said, that there's another competitor that's filling in those pieces, because that would be probably more inefficient to have two providers, doing a patchwork quilt of the coverage. So,
Hmm.
how do we sell it to those customers? Or, like you said, that it could be in a follow-up phase, which is a reasonable explanation. But then if that's being not funded through this government grant, does that mean that, one resident will pay, double the price than what another resident is paid because of how this infrastructure goes in? So my question is just really, how do we sell this to the residents? And then second question, maybe this is more a question for within our council, but what are our choices here as White Sands? Like, if we say, we're not comfortable with having it cover half the village and not cover half the village, then
Hmm.
is it a take it or leave it thing and you guys just move on? Or what happens then if we're not comfortable with this?
Well,
Yeah.
there's a couple of ways to answer that, Paul. So we can't look into the mind of the government, but I can pretty much assume that if they wanted to bring fiber to every home, they would have included every home. I think that they're relying on the ISPs that bid on the work to do the homes that they were given, which is what we're trying to do here. And then they'll carve out a portion of a location and say, okay, we're going to fund this portion. And so it'll be up to us to put together a business case where once we've delivered on the homes that were provided by the government and the funding was provided, they're going to rely on us to do the rest. And as a company that is built on growth, we have a responsibility to shareholders to grow every year. It's not like we're going to say, oh, we made 10% growth last year. We're good with that. We want 20% this year. Well, where's the 20% going to come from? It's going to come from the unfunded homes that are really close to all the homes that we got awarded on this project. So as Farrukh was explaining earlier, we will leave extra fibers in the area to service these homes. But imagine trying to work on a funded program that's got, tens of thousands of kilometers of build across the country and then double it, by doing the homes that weren't funded. We have to make sure that we're able to deliver the homes that we have on time and on budget, for the funding to work out. So we will be coming after these homes in the future to continue to grow our business. But how you sell this to the residents as well, and can you say no? I can tell you quite factually, I do this quite often and talk to many of the communities that we're going into. There's a lot of excitement, and anybody that's told that they're going to get fiber, they're all over this. They want that. And to say, well, we're not going to do it just because the home across the street is not funded, well, that seems counterproductive. I think the homes that are eligible for this want it. We're here to deliver it. And the best way that you can sell it to them is that Xplore is a big company looking to grow. And once this project is done, we will be trying to expand our network, and we will be leaving extra fiber in the area.
Tracy, I understand that you're following the federal model, but I guess we're looking at it as you're disruptive, you're coming in and plowing all the construction, which is fine, it's part of the package. But you've literally, Lakeview, First, Second, Third, and Fourth Streets are the smallest lots with the most people. So you've excluded literally by population, probably about half of the community. And it's the shortest distance, and it would make the most financial sense to attach those. It just kind of, it looks like somebody just went, okay, we'll just exclude this part in the middle. And it's literally in the middle, like it literally looks like you're going right past, but you're doing this street, but not that one. And can we request that you take a look at the total package and just let us know if that's, what, I know the promise of it's in the future could be 3-4 years. And meanwhile, we've gone through the disruption once. It wouldn't seem like, from a purely economical business perspective, it doesn't make sense to exclude those.
And that's exactly.
In the future, then why wouldn't you just do it at the same time?
And that is exactly what we're saying, though, right? Like that the government decided the prems for us, and that we're building. The expensive part is actually like the bunch of kilometers that we have to do to get into that area, right? Because that's potentially hundreds of kilometers versus when you're inside that area, then it's a small amount of kilometers that we have to plow. So, and we pay per kilometer basis on bills that we do. So it makes perfect sense, as you guys could tell, that if the ROI is in that section, that it's very likely that we will be building there. But right now we have a commitment to the government on the premises that we have and the funding that we have. So the expensive part is going to be built. After that, there's a different team that will assess the ROI and go from there, right? So that's the best explanation I could give you, because it does make sense. Yeah, like if there's a lot of people in one condensed area and we're just going right by it, why not go in there? And for the future, it would make sense for us to do it. But it's just that information we don't have right now.
Yeah. So further to that, guys, I just brought up something on my screen here. This is another area that we're in, and it's a good example of where the population is in a specific area. Now, there's a lake right in here that you can't really see. There's a bunch of homes like that are the red running lines are lines that we were awarded. So we got half a crescent over here. The other half we didn't get. So to Farrukh's point, if we go and capture everything that needs fiber. It maybe triples the size of the build. And then now we're dealing with trying to finish this on time. We have to finish on time to get the funding. We don't finish on time, no funding. So we're really committed to building the homes that we were given and finishing it on time and on budget. Then we will go and build out our network. And so, can I guarantee that we're going to get the homes that that were missed by the program and not funded by the program? I can't guarantee that, but I can tell you that we are leaving extra fiber in the area. And to Farouk's point, the business team will make that call. We're not even part of those discussions at this point, but just from a logic perspective, I can't imagine that we would be like on this road over here where we're doing a bunch of homes right in here, but like 500 meters away is the bulk of the population in this whole area right here that was not funded by the program. And I think that the government didn't want to fund every single home. They wanted to give us an incentive to get in there, reduce our costs on the portion of the build that we got awarded, and then pick up the rest on our own without government funding. So I think that's kind of where that's at.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
the time-
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
When you said you generally want to plow in or directional. Where the service is not being delivered into the village, there is maybe a possibility that it can be run with the power lines in that part of the village, which would basically cut the costs. But do you do a community in different ways of serving a community, like doing plow-in, doing power lines for service to houses? Like, can you combine both in one community?
Okay, that kind of is what this mutual agreement's about for access, so that they can work with the other company at the same time to be able to get the plan going and get the construction started. So even though we're giving them rights to use the accesses we have, they still have to work with the other companies, the gas, the power, to fulfill.
No, I
getting that.
understand that, Melissa, but what I'm on to, the question is, if you take a community like ours and you put the plowing service in, and then do you combine it with, let's say, going on the power lines for a different piece of subdivision?
So
Yeah, for sure we do.
Yeah, so I could speak to that. So if there's just as a background, the cheapest way we could build this build is actually if we go aerial, right? Wherever possible, we try to go aerial with infrastructure that's already there, and we're just running a strand, fiber cable, whatever the case is. From what I understand, and it depends on the age of the pole, what stuff is on there, the height. So not every pole we could use, right? So if you guys have Fortis and ATCO, we try to use, the plan is to use as much as we can for that, as is going to be the cheapest option for us. And then if we can't use that, that's when we go underground. Unfortunately for Alberta, a lot of the build has to be underground just because the poles, if they're there, they're not suitable for the build that we have. So then we would plow. And plowing is expensive itself, more than aerial, but if you have to do directional drilling, that's 5 times more expensive. So if the ROI, like if the budget blows up by 5 times, then we're, even with the funding, we wouldn't be able to build this build, right? Like any company can't just put in capital without a return.
Yeah, and it's the same as our community. Like, we have new subdivisions that are all underground power.
Mhm.
We did hear a rumor that they were also able to handle fiber. They had conduit in, but I have no idea. But ATCO would certainly know. They're the people that put the line in. And then the small part of the village where the lots are smaller that Danny's talking about, the roadway is absolutely full of infrastructure, right down the middle of the road, like landline for TELUS gas is just all over the place.
So that's your guys' business, but
Yeah.
just some overview of what you're gonna be faced when you do first call.
When you have a conversation with TELUS, from what I have got out of TELUS, the landlines are being abandoned. So that's not going, there's going to be that, wherever that infrastructure is, they'll be able to go
Mhm.
into. So just so that that's the discussion you'll have with TELUS, that TELUS has been abandoning the old ones.
So just to summarize, because we've got other delegations, just to summarize then, you're saying that it is your exclusive, and if somebody wants Explore or ExploreNet, then this is the package that they sign up for. You come in the village, you put it in wherever you've got the grant for, with the thought that if it makes sense for the rest of it down the road, you're not committing to that, but you're just saying it could happen if it makes business case sense.
Yeah.
But you want us to approve it for what you've got approval for, correct?
Yeah,
Yes, exactly. And just to add, and it's about wording on on how you know one thing could be said, right? So like our wording in this scenario is that the only reason we're able to build this network is through the government funding that is being provided with a very short timeline. And if we were to expand it right now, and we have future plans to expand it, if we were to expand it right now, then we wouldn't be able to meet the timeline, we wouldn't get the grant. So March 2027, this is one section of the build. There's 1,400 kilometers build that we're doing across Alberta, right? Like we just don't have the capacity to be doing the go it alone piece at this time. Until our main infrastructure is in, we try to get whatever we can and what the government has forced us or provided us the premises, right? So it's not the case that, you know, where there's no plans to expand. There's a GIA program after this build, but it's just the case that we have to do what we can. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be able to bring this into the community because of the ROI. So, like, it's a win for the community as we see it, and hopefully as you guys see it, where we're giving you like an infrastructure that will be a service to everybody else, right? Down the line, right? So, and if you can't come in, or whatever the case is, the ROI is not there, then, you know, unless the UBF program funds another ISP provider, it would be hard for them to come in as well. So, it's important to see the context on like what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that we did have this meeting instead of just signing off, so that we get information, because we have to let our public know. We're a small community and they have to be able to understand exactly what's going on. And I think now we know. Well, I know. So, and it's all recorded, and we'll do it as fast as possible, whatever.
Exactly, and I hope you guys see the value in this yourself. So then, you know, when you sell it to other people, you guys would be able to, you know, sell it as a truth, right? Like on what the actuality is. So we do personally feel that like it is a huge will be a huge benefit, hopefully, to the community down the line.
Okay, well, thanks very much for the meeting, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Feel free to reach out to us and Tracy if you have any more questions.
Thank you, Farouk. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, team.
Welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, next one.
Who's up next?
Troy. Troy's next.
Okay, let's.
Aaron, are you ready?
Hello, how are you doing?
All right, I'm back. Okay, 10:18 was the other one exited, and 10:18 Troy's joining. Okay.
Okay, so we got the information from the letter from the county and what's going on, and we know things aren't certainly finalized yet, but starting the position of having a commission is, you know, it's
out there to all of us. And we will just have, you know, this is an information meeting, so you can give us some insight into it. And we were at the meetings, yeah, we were all present at that, so.
So I think that insight should come at the end, but I think we should talk about kind of a debrief of the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you're at now.
Or like you're talking about the fires?
Yeah, and little
Yeah.
things like that, kind of strategies that, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I'll leave
Can
it
you
to
hear back there?
Well, enough.
Okay.
I wish you could shut that burn off.
It's the AC.
Probably should have been.
I'll deal
Um,
with that.
so the recent fires that we had here. What weekend in a row? Yeah, great, so,
25th, 24th, 25th, something around there. Yeah.
yeah, and I was here for the first round, and then I was actually in Calgary for the second round, but. So essentially, like every year at the lake, it's not here, every year, we're out at, Boss Hill, then we're out at Old McDonald, this year, so. The fluff flies at the lake, and it's a very severe fire hazard, depending on conditions, actually, so. This year, it was dry enough that when that stuff flew, it keeps that loft, and then it's highly flammable, so like this year, I think one gentleman I was talking to, to get started from him running a chainsaw, so. Any kind of gas powered equipment, anything that'll generate a spark if you're grinding in the yard, wouldn't take much to actually set this stuff off, and have you ever seen it go up?
I've seen
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, so it goes, and sometimes, I mean, if you go online to try the information, you see this nice little slow burning line of this fluff burning, but it's not like that. It just scatters, and it goes everywhere. So they become problematic to kind of control because they spread so far so fast that we spend hours going through and putting out hot spots. If it's allowed to just burn kind of uninhibited, then it actually can start things on fire. So that's where we had the shed fires. I think there's 3 sheds that kind of
Yes.
got up. Some of that could be kind of gets into the fire smart thing where if you have buildings like that, and typically wood sheds, they're kind of pushed off to the edge of the property, right? And that's where you get a buildup of dead leaves or old vegetation and stuff like that. So if you have, and a high fuel load, so you have this wood shed full of nice dry pine or whatever, if that goes up, it generates a fair amount of heat, and it could become problematic, generate enough heat to start other things on fire that are in proximity. So that's where people fire smarting their properties would go a long way, and even like getting into the brush on the properties and kind of cleaning out all of them. I know it's labor intensive, but any blowdowns, because that stuff doesn't generate a lot of heat, but if the fuel moisture is low, like we're talking dead leaves, and it's always this time of year, so we have buildup of dead leaves and dry grass, and so it kind of, you might just blitz through this little season and be fine if it's fairly damp. But if it's not, like it was this year, we're busy, so.
I think that the most crucial thing is for fire out here is the dry spring and fall, of course, but that flop. And you know, we were in a fire smart program in the past, but it really didn't get, the ratepayers really didn't take it to heart. They took it as education, but they didn't take it to heart. But I think there's a lot of more interest right now because of what happened. And the program is certainly accessible. Mark was out doing it. It was quite a while back.
Okay.
And then we did have an assessment of the whole village in 2015 that was adopted by Federation of Alberta.
Okay.
And we can email that to him.
Yeah.
Just found it yesterday, actually.
Okay.
And we were classified as low, but I didn't see any, I haven't gone through the whole thing yet because it was, it's 11 years or whatever ago. but I don't think there was any reference to the offer fuzz.
Yeah, and I don't know if they addressed that. Like I was looking prior to this meeting, I was trying to find stuff online and there's not a lot out there. And
I
then
mean,
some of the
we
stuff
didn't even have-
downplays it,
We didn't
actually.
even have a fire ban because we weren't
Yeah.
aware of that danger.
Yeah. Yeah,
And I think some people that it's really bad in the yard, they water it down.
Mhm.
So maybe it's an advantage, like I know Danny was talking about possibly having a water truck that we water plants with and everything else. But you could also do the sides of the roads when the fluff is out too,
Yeah.
and flatten that crap,
Yeah.
right?
Just-
So there's things that we can look at, but it is gonna be, like I said, at their meeting, the liability of what we're allowed to do is another different story, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But I know that, I was told that the 911 lady told the person that phoned it in, do not fight the fire.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know how anybody could sit there and let it go,
That's right.
you know, but
I
anyway.
think that's a liability thing on their part too, like
Yeah, more than
they
likely.
tell you, they don't tell you not to fight the fire and you get injured. And I
Right.
don't know.
Well, it kind of makes sense. The same
Yeah.
as someone's breaking into your garage or whatever, and
Yeah,
you don't go out there, you might get shot or something,
Yeah.
right? But we need to get more education out there, and that's where you guys can help us as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So there is one of the delegations that's coming up. There is I'm gonna call it ad hoc, but there is a community-led initiative to kind of set up a first response, like call 911 and then do something.
Yeah.
And something. Is there a liaison or somebody that group should be talking to kind of coordinate to say, this makes sense, this doesn't, they're going to do something. I would prefer that something was informed. Is that something that you guys have?
You're talking about like first response from the village here, like you
Yeah,
guys do
just
something,
like
yeah,
a
so,
couple water, maybe some alarms and some couple water trucks that just
Yeah.
are on standby to put out a little grass fire here while they're waiting. That 30 minutes is what scares everyone, right?
yeah,
A
no,
lot
sure,
can
yeah,
happen
no,
in
that's
30
always been the
minutes.
challenge, right?
So is the Stettler Fire Department, Regional Fire Department, able to have that discussion with that group, and maybe would they, if an invitation was put out to say, hey, we got some ideas, we'd like to run them by you, is that something?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and then, cause a lot of that comes down to liability and training and everything, so that
Yes.
puts,
For sure.
that's really what it comes down to. So providing training or whatever that looks like.
The cost of training, making sure that in case something does go wrong, how do you respond?
Yeah, and yeah, so.
Because and then injuries that could happen.
and then-
There's a lot of factors now. If the municipality wants to get in, then that is all the things that making kind of that type of wildland fire thing available. But again, that now adds on to the services that we're already part of, right?
Exactly, and so that would be a discussion of like how that would tie, like, yeah, it all comes down to liability and training, because even if you do something like, so if we do something on the fire ground and it either doesn't work the way we planned, and we've got to come up with a different plan, like you open yourself up to liability, and so it comes to like, well, we say, come back to our training, this is what we're trained to do, and this is why we did what we did. If you just have people running out there to do things, and they actually have an organization, I think you just open yourself up. Whereas if you're under an umbrella, and we actually know that if you have some people here that are trained and able to make those decisions and can actually back them up, and whatever kind of liability. So it's all like, that's
Yeah.
why the fire
And health,
department
right?
is, yeah,
Because there's already a situation in Saskatchewan where the firefighter lung collapsed. He's
Yeah.
out on the field. So these kind of things depend, everybody's different, and these are situations that can arise from health.
Yeah, and as a homeowner, if you're protecting your own property, you're probably fine. Like liability wise, I think you're okay. So you go and start fighting the fire, but if you start doing something on somebody else's property without really asking, and you do something or you don't do something, you just open yourself, it's liability, and it doesn't make sense, especially when you know your neighbors, and then sometimes that, it doesn't matter how nice your neighbor is, it's the insurance companies that will go after people, so that has to be part of the discussion, and if that's something that you guys are looking at doing, then like establishing like a fire department kind of thing, or something, some aspect of it here be part of the
I think
discussion
at
you
this
want to
point,
have.
it's just, are you able to have that discussion with them and
Yeah,
maybe give
for
them
sure. Yeah, we can talk, yeah.
I mean, what they do is what they do, but,
Mhm.
you know, it's just, it's always good to have that, you know, words of wisdom sort of thing.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
And I
Yeah, we
think
can
as
help,
we move,
like,
as we move forward, it would be really nice that me and you could kind of just get a better knowledge of the community and talk about
Sure.
some of the municipal fire start initiatives we should be implementing.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because maybe there's an opportunity for us to work together to make things easier for the fire department.
For sure, yeah, we were already looking.
And
at
it is important to, the same as if the notification system, sometimes, well, you would know.
Mhm.
You get some people trying to fight it, but you get a whole bunch of spectators that are blocking the roads,
Yeah,
and you
exactly.
can't get your machinery in.
Yeah,
You know, stuff like that, and it's all education.
a lot of that is education, right? And even like when we were out here, you could see drifts of the fluff, right? And like
Yeah.
that, and it's weird how some of it will light right up, and like 2 feet
Yeah.
away, it doesn't. So
Yeah.
it's just got a mind of its own almost. But
And I understand steps we can take along our roadways along the sides, but the point is, this comes from every direction.
Yeah.
So whatever we do on our roadway sides doesn't mean it's gonna protect the next adjacent property owner because of the
Well,
way it comes from all directions.
And the MR, a lot of MRs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of green space. We
and
want that.
when it's falling, it's like when we were out at Old McDonald's. By the time we left, like the black was already covered. It was falling so fast, it just looked like it was
Yeah.
white again. So,
Yeah.
like how much, like when do you do that, and how often, and can you even stay on
Well,
top
it's
of
a
it? Like,
huge-
or you just put out an alert when it's happening. It's probably,
Yeah.
and then just if everybody can look after their own property, like no fire pits and just no gas powered equipment kind of running when it's thick like that. And it's not like that every year, but this year it was falling fast. So.
And then another important part is too, in our agreement with the departments, that Melissa can actually call a fire ban in our
Yeah.
village by itself, as long as we let
Yeah.
you guys know what's going on.
Yeah,
So that's something else that maybe the fire department doesn't call a fire ban, but it's needed here because of that flood,
yeah, and
right?
that's
Yeah,
exactly what
and that's
happened.
what
So
we did.
With what we did.
Yes, and I think moving forward, I think that's something that in the spring, we'll have those conversations, maybe move that another step and educate again.
Mhm.
And I think that's going to be the route I wanna move through the season now is what should we do? And if we need to put the fire ban on, do the education thing about the fluff when it
Mhm.
starts, so that we can just say, okay, but then we're gonna have to do this all through the year because this fluff doesn't seem to be going away, it's still there.
yeah, I think it's there, but it's not like it is in that volume. It almost needs that volume to actually build up so that it can
Yes.
spread, right? It is,
Yeah.
and it doesn't generate a lot of heat, but when it is like that and the fuel's dry, that's when it needs to get that little
Yeah.
like dead leaf started, and then it's going. Like,
And some of our trees in the village are just starting in
Yeah.
areas. Like it's,
That's what I've noticed is it's almost like there's a second run happening.
but,
So
different trees, I don't know.
I think it's just the way our seasons have been going. We were so dry this year, we got to the level of moisture, but we're still dry.
Yeah.
So it's a learning curve.
It really is, yeah. And we'll have to see what we want to do moving forward. But as long as we kind of keep an eye on things in the spring, early like that, and get the information out there, tell people to start being careful. And it's like anything else; they'll have to be reminded every year. Pretty much, right? You just get doing your life, or
But yeah, I've been working on the educational materials, and I want to get them all saved so we can just start pulling stuff when we need to.
Yeah. Oh, it'll be a work in progress for sure.
Yeah,
I'd like to ask any question that we talked about earlier.
Yes.
I had a resident ask me, they weren't here when their property was part of the little bit of the fire that happened on the 25th. And was not made aware until June 26th. He came out and noticed and the neighbors told him. So who's responsible to notify residents that there's fire in the property or damage from fire in the property?
it's a good question.
Yes.
I don't know, like normally we have to, like that was 25th, was that the Sunday?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
Okay.
this Sunday, and then of course we put
Saturday
our,
and Sunday.
yeah,
Yeah, cause I was out Saturday and then I went to Calgary and Mark was here on
Yeah,
yes,
Sunday, so,
yeah, it's a Sunday, for this instance, it would have been a Sunday.
cause the
Yeah.
Saturday one was a warm chainsaw, right?
yeah, that was the chainsaw one, yeah.
Yes.
And the next one, we're not sure how it started necessarily, I don't,
No,
talking to
we
Mark, he
don't
wasn't
have
sure,
any
so, yeah.
verification.
so who knows how it started, but,
Yeah.
and it involved 3 properties, I think.
Probably about 7,
Was there 7? Okay.
Yeah. and-
possibly more, like 7, 8.
Yeah.
Mostly in their, behind their place, but some of them, the 3 were the damages, like where the sheds were damaged, but the fire went through other areas that the fire department put out little spot fires.
It might be, that's a question I'm not sure the answer to, but I think our agreement is with White Sands, right?
Yes,
And then so you guys will get the bill and then,
Mhm.
right,
so,
Yeah,
But we don't get
It
the
might
bill
be.
until like a month later or more.
yeah,
sometimes,
so, I can get back to you on that. I don't
Yeah,
really know the
please.
answer to that
yeah,
question.
cause at this point, we're not too sure how to respond back.
Yeah, okay, and you can just,
It's more of a notification thing, but.
yeah, it is,
Like,
and I don't know if
fire
that,
went through
like,
my backyard,
yeah, we can just bypass you guys and notify them.
I don't know,
Or
whatever.
if you guys want us to go through you, it might be a preference thing, I think something we can set up. So that's,
Yeah.
if you want us to notify them, or if you guys wanna do that, informed, like, we want.
Because we wouldn't be right there if things on a weekend and stuff, so it probably would make more sense that the fire department would notify or give us a heads up to notify, and then that way we've got the communication open. That's
Yeah.
all I.
Sure, and do we have access to all those files, like who property ownership information?
well,
like that?
No, that had to come through us, cause that was the first thing
Yeah.
Yeah, so that might be
like,
the
worked with
problem.
Mark, we pulled everything
good.
for them, sent it off right away. So once he could figure things out, and so that I think is where the delay may be happening, because we have to all figure this out,
Yeah, for sure, yeah,
yeah.
so we can.
but I also used to give the information to the RCMP, fire department and the EMS. But hadn't done that for a lot of years because of all this FOIP issue.
Yeah.
But certainly with you guys' connection with the RCMP, that is completely fine.
Well, the
Yeah,
RCMP would have, they could get that info
Yeah,
rather quickly.
yeah,
and we could actually
can.
give them the list and they just got a file in the office with it in there. That's how they did do it. And then they
Or
had
is it more
maps.
appropriate for the fire department to say these 6 properties,
Yeah,
you know, can you let them know?
Yeah,
Might
Yeah.
make more
That
sense.
might-
the list changes all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Every 2 weeks,
Or-
there's
yeah.
land titles. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't.
Properties,
You guys got more important things to do, I think, than notify our residents that there was a fire on the property.
yeah, I'm trying, especially in a timely manner.
You
Yeah,
have to
try-
go back to
Yeah.
town and.
Yeah, and that's what we were trying to figure out is like, okay, cause when it happens, the main idea is to fight it.
Yeah.
And that's first concern, but if somebody's not paying attention to their property from the 25th, 24th, and they're just noticing on the 8th, there's a concern here for, I don't know what their insurance provider's like, but normally you have to be monitoring your properties, whether it's seasonal or
Mhm.
full-time, right? I don't know. I don't have answers on that.
Education thing.
Yes. So I think we're gonna work on that as another educational thing. And I will communicate through Troy before I post anything.
Good.
Yep. Adding to my list. But I think we have to get our communication.
Yeah, for
figure
sure,
that out.
and then I guess the other part is what we talked about at first, your notification.
And I guess I had one question from the meeting that we were at. There didn't seem to be any community there that was not absolutely against it. Did you feel that way?
Oh, yeah, from our, what the,
Going to a
Commission.
commission.
yeah, the commission,
Yeah,
that didn't seem like, I didn't get the feeling that, and I'm not in the know, like that's sort of an administration side of things, but I didn't get the feeling like.
It seems to be moving forward.
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
the difference
I think there's
is,
another meeting scheduled.
Yeah.
Or
And
a
you have to
request for it anyway.
you have to understand that we're all trying to fulfill the same obligations to the regulations of meeting fire demand and
Yeah.
fire suppression and unfortunately, urbans and rurals, we do have differences.
Mhm, yeah.
And so it is what it is. I think we all agree we have to have a fire service.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
And the one that works best for the village.
Right.
So yeah, like, for example, the town relies on hydrants,
Yes.
right?
And then your equipment components are different depending on what services are there.
Yeah.
So we would have to, for our community, dry ponds make more sense than having the hydrants all over the
Hydrants,
place. So it's just that it's all over the province, we have these issues.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good, because that's what I kind of thought too at that meeting, that there was no one that was jumping up and down.
Well, depends on the size of communities and what services
Yeah.
they offer.
What they offer already.
Yeah.
I think some communities are kind of tied in a little more than you guys are because they have a fire department right there, so.
Yeah.
Just to say no would probably not really make sense, but I don't know that it's, I've been for the commission idea for a long time, but
Yes.
just, it makes sense to me that we wouldn't have to be going to multiple municipalities for funding every year, right? Whereas if you had a group, and I think the idea of a group of people working together to make something work is a better model than having entities kind of.
Yeah, them agreements, when they first started, were kind of hard to get together, but now it's been done for quite a number of years. It's
Yeah.
a fairly stable process.
And equipment and firefighting and expectations is not getting less, it's getting more and more expensive too. Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, cost of everything's going up.
yes.
Well, that's real good, Troy, and thanks for coming out.
Yeah, no worries.
And
Thank you.
we'll certainly keep the communications open.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll talk some more and then.
Yeah.
See what we can do about it.
I'll email you next week, we'll have further conversation.
All right, yeah, sounds good.
Thanks, Troy.
All right, thank you very much.
The delegation for wild and fire preparedness, so that you take off your counselor hats and want to talk about it, but.
Well, I think Dan would, like, he was,
Larry just was public.
Larry's just public?
Yeah.
So he's not, there's no formal delegation.
No.
The only thing that I'm aware of is that they met and I chaired it or moderated it, I guess. And at the end, we made it very clear that the village has certain responsibilities and is moving in a certain direction. And the group felt that they had, there was a couple issues that, you know, that were on the agenda and that they addressed. And one is a warning, alarm, alertness, whatever. Call to arms, if you will. And then the second was, and what does that look like? And then the second part of that was, what is our first response? And so what ended up, we had a bit of discussion and some great ideas and lots of discussion. It was about an hour. And at the end of the day, they have put together an ad hoc committee. I'm not on that committee. It is led by others, and they will, you know, brief us on where they're going and their ideas and what they're coming up with. And my recommendation to them was that they also talk to the professionals, and there were some good conversations. I can't remember, Stuart from Global was out here, And he was able to provide a lot of, basic information. But my recommendation to them was talk to professionals as well. So I didn't discourage them or encourage them. I think for the most part, they are going to come up with some ideas. They did put forward 3, are you gonna address that later, or
I can add it to my report if you want me to.
we could address it now? I don't.
How about we do it right now?
Yeah.
An email was sent out June 8th to council and to the CAO, and their request they would like you to consider to help with fire preparedness are: 1, placing a dump trailer out for community use to help dispose of leaves and branches as the community works on their properties.
Yeah, leaves and branches.
Yeah, to become fire smart. Place fire extinguishers around the community in strategic locations. Reimburse community members for their used fire extinguishers that were put to use during the recent fire on Destiny Drive. Contact the province for guidance for how to deal with the fire load in the municipal reserves. Any one of these will have cost implications that we're budgeted for. So it is up to council if you want to take this as information and think about it and bring it back for further review. Because I don't have numbers, but I know there's cost implications.
I think one of the big things that did come out of that meeting was we used to go around and collect brush all the time, right? And then it was a constant thing, but it was also very hard to keep staffing doing that, and then other stuff was being let go. But
We don't have
in
enough
the-
staffing. One, there were some places that we could be hauling 6 loads to.
Yeah.
That's going over excessive for what the intent, so those are cost time. You have one staff, they can't do anything else if they're constantly on the road running loads. So there is going to be an implication to do any of this. We can implement anything like that. If you want
Right.
to bring that back, then we're gonna have to look at
But,
staffing.
that's just one thing that we were doing, and then we
Yes.
requested that it's no longer than 6 feet long in piles, 3-inch or 3
Yeah.
feet in diameter, so the grapples can grab it. But then you go into a cul-de-sac and there was a brush pile, all like jigsaw puzzles all over the place. It was 40 feet long.
That's not what they're asking for.
No,
They weren't asking for
That's-
selection. They
that's
were
that's
asking-
just for information.
Yes,
And then previous to that, we used to get a roll-off container, put it, well, the dumpsters weren't there at the time, but in that area. And then just do it in the fall and the spring, and then have people come and fill that. And then we would take the spring cleanup stuff and the small leaves and whatever and take it and have the roll-off get dumped at the landfill.
Yeah.
But then we pulled out a fridge, and then we pulled out some other crap and some stuff that's big that jammed up the dump part. So there's lots of different things we can do, but we have to make sure that it's not gonna.
so can we look into, there is a grant for Fire Smart and, burnt dead wood collection. I know Rocky View does it. They do it twice a year and they'll have a weekend. And it's staffed, somebody is there monitoring so that somebody doesn't dump a fridge or anything else. And they have an area, they collect it for that weekend usually in May and then one in the fall. And it is bring your dead, your dead, not necessarily all alive stuff, but bring your dead all to this collection day. It's a one-time event and it's cleaned up and that's it. Don't put any more there. It's not, you have to bring it to a centralized area. And then sometimes they'll bring in a wood chipper. Sometimes they just load it up in 2 30-yard bins and it's gone. And it is meant to prevent fires in communities.
I like the idea of that, and it can be combined with the Fire Smart education campaign, where we kind of make it the Fire Smart Days. I think they talked about that when we saw the presentation at the last Summer Villages conference. But if we organize something like that maybe there's grant funding that we can get as part of that to help offset the costs a little bit. But I think that would be a good educational day. It's maybe not something that we do as a regular thing, but I think certainly as a one-off thing, and then it can be assessed after that if there's value in making this an annual or a spring fall thing or something like that. But it's a great way to get the education out at the same time. As for the other suggestions, putting fire extinguishers around the village sounds like a great idea, but those will disappear over time, and then there's a liability thing if we're not checking it regularly and there is a fire and somebody has long since stolen the fire extinguishers and we didn't replace them, and that, I just think that would not work out too well. And as for the idea of reimbursing people that use the fire extinguishers, again, that's almost a little bit of, are we accepting some liability for that? There was a fire, and I'm not sure that it's our place to reimburse it. Certainly we can do something maybe to honor or recognize the people that went above and beyond, but I'm not sure that would be monetary in terms of reimbursing their costs. Certainly a shout out to some of them might be a nice thing to do though.
Yeah, and we have kind of tried to do some of that through the Facebook group. If you guys want to do more, we can. Like if
And
you
we
want.
do have our town hall meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
Coming. On the
Well, I think we
29th,
can-
so.
We can discuss that at the town hall and see if there's an appetite, but
Yeah.
for sure, do the investigation into, and like I said, I can give you some Rocky View contacts.
Yes, please. So,
Because like I said, they do it in different communities at least twice a year.
Yeah.
And they don't get a lot because it's monitored.
Yeah, and that's the main thing, abuse of anything you do.
Yeah, and sometimes it's, hey, you got a full truck full of green, take it to the landfill yourself, sort of thing, if you're on those cases.
Yeah.
But it's meant for dead. Okay,
so if you could do a motion that, to investigate Fire Smart to maybe look at running a program for monitored collection.
Spring and fall.
Spring and fall.
yes, I'll make that motion.
I'll let you word it though.
To direct administration to investigate or research the collection of the, spring and fall 1-day collection of dead wood, wood debris
As part of the Fire Smart.
as
program.
part of the Fire Smart program, and to
And
check and
grants.
see if there's any grants available.
Yes, thank you. Now I
Oh,
have a
okay.
job to do.
All in favor?
Sorry, I tried not to make it too wordy.
No, that's great. Sometimes we have to pull up the video and just re-listen. We're doing our best. I think that's
Okay.
really good.
So I have moved by Councillor Campbell to direct administration to investigate / research the collection of 1-day spring collection of 1-day spring fall of dead wood debris for Fire Smart program and look into grants for funding.
Okay, thank you. So next thing, MR PAC committee report.
Come on in. While you're coming up tonight, I gotta stop.
Gotta go. Gotta go.
Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, there's 2 chairs, sorry, thank you. Just move this. I'm gonna grab a minute. Yes,
Absolutely.
How you doing? Good. So I guess if. Wow. Let's look here.
You have the papers?
They have them.
We have it in.
You have it in Word, you have it in, but
Is that what we're reading on?
yes, that's what you're reading off of.
Hold on.
No Wi-Fi here, what's the password? Let's try it. Here you go.
Chris, I'll print you a copy soon.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you need a copy? There is actual one here. Yes, underneath there.
Perfect. Okay, I got one.
Oh, that's why, sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so a committee was formed for looking into recreational possibilities as well as aesthetics, paths, whatever, on MR. And so the committee was headed up by who were all your members? There was 5, wasn't there?
Yeah, Jeannie and George, as well as
Oh,
myself.
George Schroeder
Yeah.
Well,
and Jeannie
Jeannie
Kizadama. Okay, and you
And-
two.
yeah.
And Dan. Okay, anyway, on behalf of the village, I would certainly like to thank you for doing that. Because council sometimes doesn't get all the ideas they need to make decisions. And I think also the fact that you did the survey is good. And if the survey is done properly, is very good. And some surveys are mediocre, but I think you're right on track. Well, thanks.
Go. I have a mint in my mouth. She just gave me a minute. Let's get it out. Talk around it. Okay.
Don't,
So we
don't
had,
swallow it.
I know, right?
Just, I got
Yeah,
a Kleenex.
anybody do the Hamlet movie?
Yeah.
Okay. He just left. Oh, he's still here.
Still here.
No, he's still there.
Oh, I guess.
Laura getting Kleenex for her.
Okay.
It's okay.
I'm gonna come to this man.
There you go.
I'm all right. Okay, I'm okay now. So, we had 105 responses to the survey. 70.2% felt that the community could make some improvements, and 29.8% were happy with the status quo. The village centre, the top choice, was to convert and utilize the old maintenance shop for fitness classes, indoor pickleball, etc. The survey results concerning the 3 MRs between 4th and 1st Street were create bicycle and pedestrian ways with interpretive signage, disc golf, and community garden. It was clear that Jack's Pond, an upgrade of the fire pit area, and perhaps a picnic shelter / cook shack is a priority. Next came the creation of more paths with interpretive signage, and finally the creation of a safe toboggan run. With regards to current pathways, residents would like to see an updated community map posted, more pathways, and a pathway from the water station to the boat launch down 40-4. When we reviewed the comments / suggestions, this was the order of priority. Leave natural areas alone. That was number 1, except for the maintenance / creation of paths. Out of 104 responses, 7 suggested that the boat launch be a priority, which actually wasn't on the survey. 5 out of 104 responses suggested an off-leash dog park. A pathway to the boat launch was suggested many times, and residents there was much concern regarding raise of property taxes that would result from any of these developments or improvements, and that seemed to be that was expressed quite a number of times. That's it. That's all I got.
That's good information for sure. As far as taxes going up, anything, most everything would reflect on taxes, but also there is possibly some grant funding available
Right, for capital.
for
capital.
like to convert.
Right, but when it comes down to maintenance, that is going to be your annual cost that will incur depending on what your options are. But trails, they do have to be maintained, and if you're gonna open up other ones, so anything capital can be covered by grants depending on what they are. But then after that, it's maintenance on annual.
So
Yeah.
are we going to, like, you guys, obviously you're gonna talk about this, so you guys will send something out to let people know,
Yeah, report the results of.
report the results and then say whatever you say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That, you know, looking into grants, but, and then what will it be, an ultimate, another survey, yes or no, or like, how do you?
Would the committee like to see a response to these?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or, well, I don't know, do it.
Well, I think yes.
I think it would be nice.
So.
You know, because if it comes down to the taxes, you know, I mean, there's specific things here that they kind of want, and like, just take something simple like an off-leash dog park. I mean, if that's something that might be cheaper, I don't know.
Well, that is where, unfortunately, every little bit of this has something that will have a cost. So yes, capital component, we could look at, okay, off-leash dog park, fencing, benches. Are we going to provide the bags? Are we gonna do the garbage? Those kind of things. We have to take a look at all of that. So that would be a strategic planning capital components to see. And then you could respond to, okay, we could do this, but there, again, it all comes down to, would the grant cover this portion of it? And then after that, what's the cost for the operation of it? And then to enforce it and things like that, depending on what they are. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
and the other part, of one of, some of the information here, that pathway from the truck fuel station down to the boat launch, that's been talked about for years and years and years. And I've always maintained that that is an important health and safety thing, because people just do not slow down there, and it doesn't matter whether we got speed bumps or not,
Right. But if we're gonna do it.
We have
that
to
means
plan for it.
Building it right, making sure we've got the drainage, we've got everything built in so that it's there. You could build a gravel, you could do it all by gravel if you wanted to. Is that what people want? Then we're gonna start getting into that, or are they gonna want it paved trail? Again, I think there's more that comes with this that that will be discussions of council.
Yeah, different prices, right?
Yeah, and it could start with gravel. I mean, you're gonna have to make a base if you're gonna do
Build some areas.
build some areas.
But I know that when they do trails, if they do it engineered right, it's got everything built in. Like, you don't have any water buildup, you don't have any of that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, it's not something that we can do on a weekend by a bunch of volunteers.
Correct.
So that's interesting that there was push for that, and there'll probably be more of a push because of the fact that, I don't know, people just seem to be ripping through down that road. And then I've often come across people spread all across the road, let's say an adult and 3 kids, and they're all, it's scary.
But the county has done their part, they built theirs and they're still on the road, so again, you'll never get all that balance
We have a
correct.
lot of walking.
We put more speed bumps in, but that's.
Oh my God.
I know.
Anymore.
I don't know. Like,
Truck and trailer full of
sometimes they
water.
just full bore across them.
Yeah,
They
I
got
think
the
for
right
the
kind of
most
vehicle.
part, we are a walking community, our roads, our trails internally. That one in particular is not a really walker friendly
No,
from that to that.
Is there an internal one that we could?
There is a
I think-
possibility, but not the whole way.
yeah,
Like the one from,
Behind us.
yeah,
up around Bluebell.
and then
there's
it
a way
comes,
to make
it
things
comes
work.
out to cul-de-sac, the second cul-de-sac,
Yeah,
third from the lake,
You could dive in and out, I guess.
but it
But
also.
You're still gonna get walkers on the road.
yeah.
Yeah,
On that
and
road.
if it was just made for pedestrian traffic only, you'd have a hard time keeping the golf carts and quads off of it.
Yeah.
However, people that are walking the roads, maybe they don't know about the path behind.
Well, I was just gonna say that, and then, I don't,
That's
like,
a
where are
possibility.
people walking to?
Well,
Like, do they just wanna go?
It's a fire to the boat.
Okay, so they wanna spend the day at the boat launch, or they're just going for a walk, or they live in these little cul-de-sacs? Like,
Usually,
All of the above.
yeah, and a
absolutely.
lot of
I walk in a
the
lot.
cul-de-sac people come out onto
Yes.
40-4 and then come down this way.
So maybe they don't know about that path that's behind you, but is there nothing, there's nothing here?
then maybe mapping will help that. I think that is a really good idea. The
Mapping thing,
And I
yeah.
think that should, we are already trying to work on some kind of GIS thing that could move this forward even faster. But those are, like, there are costs for us to do GIS and stuff, but once that's in play, making that kind of code mapping system is already built, then it's easy to get it out there.
Well, you might need to make some connections. to
Yeah.
some- That's the problem. is
Yeah.
You might be able to use a kind of a pre-existing MR, that is
So
being
this
used,
one comes
in
up
the very
back
local
here.
area by the locals.
Yes,
But you
Comes,
still have to
then you
link
can
those
go
to
through
something
Front
else.
Street,
And you know,
Okay.
cul-de-sac,
and so you
up
still
it
have
comes
to look at
through down
potentially
here,
building up some
right
areas.
into here.
and that I
The
think
boat
is why
launch
we
is
need
where-
to get more into that,
Yeah.
because I don't think we're utilizing it enough, we don't even have it. We don't have it mapped properly, some people who are new here don't even know where they exist, and maybe that's the signage and all that kind of stuff, and that, maybe that's a good starting
didn't
point
know.
to move it forward.
I didn't know where they all were. I didn't know there was
Exactly.
many as there was.
You did
Yes.
another horseshoe picked over in that one.
No, we
Here,
didn't.
So,
Still don't know where they are.
So part of it's education, but part of it will be, and we probably have to build something in this to link this section to that section.
Yes.
And so what are we doing moving forward? Are we going to have that discussion? And then, potentially put it in the capital budget for next year or something, but that, we now have at least the, 2 or 3 or 4 major priorities.
This should go into your strategic planning session.
Yeah.
And then you come up with your top priorities, which helps give me direction on where to start going through that list and bringing that stuff into your regular council budgets, discussion, decisions.
Okay, so if we're posting this information publicly,
Yes, we should just.
then we
post it.
should also post, do we wanna post a response? And the response might be, we can look into this, this and this. But
That should be your resolution today. That you're accepting this report
okay,
and that you're gonna move it.
Going
to-
forward.
Going forward for strategic planning, prioritize, budget,
do you get all that?
yes.
Yeah, and
I sent the
the post-
report, and then what are we doing with the take this to strategic planning after the election?
Paul, do you
We'll
have
take
a
it forward to
summarization?
our strategic planning sessions.
And
Yeah.
the public has to be notified what you're gonna be doing, because I know one thing on here, they wanted to put a community garden in between, in one of the places in between, Second and,
In one of the
Third.
blocks.
Yeah.
They didn't
And-
specify which one.
No, they didn't.
Not this time, not in this survey.
no, but the opposition was just like a
Yeah.
firestorm.
Right, but
Yeah.
understanding that you will go through this in your strategic planning. Your strategic planning, once, like, you'll do that as a council. And then we draft it, and then it comes to the regular, so you're gonna accept the draft or make any adjustments. It is all public. And then as you decide what your priorities are, and I get that list, then when it's the first priority, okay, how are we gonna work it into a budget, what's the cost? Then it comes to you guys, if you're gonna make those decisions, and you're gonna give us the direction on, okay, we think this might be a good location, do you want us to do a survey?
Yeah.
That's where that's all.
And that's where you can't miss that boat, and that's transparency.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because before things happen, people gotta know. They don't wanna
Yes.
come out in the spring and they haven't been here since last fall.
Yeah.
and see a disc course or
Through their
a,
backyard.
through their back.
Through their backyard.
Yeah, and the MR is part of their property. Even when them were cleaned out for fire trails, it was a big deal, but we stayed away.
The
We
tra-
guaranteed, right?
Yeah, the transparency is gonna come through your public meetings and making sure, and then you're gonna give us more direction on if you want further consultation, those kind of things, because that's the key. To make a rash decision right now without having the
Yeah.
numbers.
And that
I
wasn't,
don't think they're
that was-
asking for that.
that
They're
wasn't the
asking-
intention. It was
Yeah.
just feedback.
Yeah.
and
And-
information.
And
Yeah.
cost
Good
and
for
all the rest of
people
it,
to
right?
understand, and with the resolution you've given, you're gonna look at all this.
Yeah.
That's part of your plan. You bet.
And there is a toboggan hill, except the road needs to be filled in a bit so the kids can go down, because we mowed it out about 5 or 6 years ago.
The one on the other side of Jack's Pond.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's on the right side of the hill, so the snow stays.
The George is talking about.
Yeah.
But
George was
it's
talking
all,
about
it's
that.
all grown up again, so it needs, like Ed mowed it, I had him mow it for us. But where the road goes through there, the little guys hit that road, there's a big dip, but it just needs to be shaved off or something.
Which has a cost, but we can do, but
Yeah.
those are all things that, which ones are more manageable than others that you guys will. Look at discussion.
Yeah, then that's not an expensive thing. to
No,
do.
it would be expensive, overly expensive on maintenance.
No, you can use a skid steer to fix that.
Yeah. Okay, so it has to be
Thank
cost
you.
effective. I just heard it. Nice
You're
work.
welcome.
Thank
You're welcome.
Okay, so I have Councillor Example, will accept the MR PAC committee survey report and will take it forward to the strategic planning session after the 2025 general election.
Can,
And we should
can we
thank,
make an amendment to that? And post these results?
and these results will be posted.
Yes, I think it's clear.
Thank you.
All in favor?
That's like a big look. Or you both say it too, but say it
Yeah.
as well.
No, it'd be nice to see the feedback.
Big sad faces. Big sad.
I think it's a good summary, and it's still addressed all the different areas.
Yeah, I think so.
People made it clear, like, and it's good.
Thanks.
Okay, kids, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we done? Vote for the motion?
Yeah, you
Oh,
did.
yeah.
Thank you.
Christine,
See you guys, thanks.
Oh, thank you.
and we can do a map of the existing trails and put it on the website too.
I'm working on that.
Yeah.
I've been,
We should probably start.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm working on the fire trail.
Some of it will be
Yeah.
relatively easy.
Yeah.
But
Thank you. Thank you.
See you.
Okay.
And then are we just accepting all the other ones as information?
Yeah,
All,
What?
accept them, all delegations of information.
Okay.
okay, the next
Item,
is,
Take a recess if you need. We're at bylaws. Oh, he's getting excited.
and I am,
Sorry, Paul, she's getting excited. We got our bylaw back.
so that road closure. And I was saying to Melissa, this is the third time. And it's been on the books before the building was built for the truck fill.
so
First
it's done, it's done.
It's done now.
Done,
Okay.
just this past week.
Good.
Now you're doing your bylaw to complete it.
We
Rusty.
started this in April and it will be now done, and I'll work on the registration.
So what do we need to do to get it done? then?
Just make a damn motion.
Yeah, you make the.
I'll make the third reading on this.
Okay.
Reading.
Second reading.
Second reading, oh yeah.
Now that the minister has signed it off, you do your second reading.
There's to approve second reading of bylaw 2/15/25 road closure road plan 4117 MCS presented.
Okay, done.
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 And third reading?
Who's doing third?
I'll do third too.
Sure.
This is, if you guys knew the whole story of this, you'd just about,
That's the silly, not silly, but yeah.
I completed the process starting fresh.
Okay, well, we're done. Okay, so we don't have to talk about closing the damn road anymore that no one
Nope,
knows.
I'll move on.
Now,
Yeah, I'll get
There's
writing.
still access.
we
to
have to
water
make an
too.
agreement with the water commission because that's
Yes.
their building.
I will advise
We
them.
will
as
send
well.
them off this information
Yes.
and get their advisement.
I'm signing this.
Sign it, done. Okay.
Okay,
What's next?
business, we got the road or the boat launch.
That one was Mr. Paul.
Oh.
Where'd you go? Where'd it go? Hold on, he's right there. Oh, Paul, all yours.
Yeah, I just asked this to be included in the agenda for this year. I know we have talked about it before, but given that we're getting into the summer season here again right now, just understanding the current status of it and our short and long-term plans. So, as I understand it, the fireboat launch is damaged again over this last winter from probably ice movement. The near one is not damaged, but with the lake level being so low, I guess as it says, it's used at own risk. So I really just wanted to really understand where we're at for the short term, if we're doing any actions for moving towards repair of it. And I know Melissa's been working on some of the long-term options, including things like dredging or other boat lift or other options. But really just wanted to maybe get a sense of where we're at and then put a communication together out to White Sands residents on what the status is for it for this year. I read through the information that you sent out, Melissa, and thanks for that. I guess the one thing that I don't see on there that I don't know if it's been asked before, but if the damage to the concrete blocks is because of the low water level, so the ice is essentially smashing up against the bottom of the concrete blocks, is extend rather than building something completely different, but can we just essentially do the same thing but run concrete blocks further out and anchor them below where an ice level would be and essentially have a longer boat launch, but of the same design? Is that an option that's been considered at all?
Do you want me
That
to
was-
take a picture?
Paul, did I send you a bunch of pictures?
I'm just gonna share it, hold on. We're
Um,
gonna share
the-
the screen for you.
There were the pictures that are part of the agenda package, but that's all that I've seen.
No, I did a walkout yesterday.
It's just showing on my screen over here, but can you see the picture of Lauren?
Yes,
Yeah, that's at the boat launch.
Yeah,
way out
So-
there in knee-deep water.
Yeah.
yeah, so first part of your question, Paul, is the boat launch used to be all underwater except for maybe what, Larry, 3 or 4 pads, something like that.
Mhm.
But it still got damaged every year in the ice push.
Okay.
So, and
Low water.
even
high
if you
water.
tried to physically try and get them anchored, I don't know how you would actually be able to do it to stop that power because it's just phenomenal what happens.
So they're not tied together at all?
Yes, they are.
They
They're-
are.
So there's a chain in between
Yeah.
them, so,
Yes,
Yeah,
and they still get pulled apart.
yeah.
yeah.
Well, pushed up and they could be still chained together.
Like they're put into the stand bed. The problem is that as the wind and the ice and everything shifts, it pushes, and whether it's high water or low water, this has been ongoing. And this
Okay, so the
is
damage
bad
isn't
now.
a low water phenomenon. We've definitely seen the
No,
damage at
no.
different water levels. Okay.
And
Yeah.
one time, there was a push in February. And what environment figured, and I kind of figured as well, there was a bunch of cracks in the lake. And then there was a warm period for about 2 weeks. And then there was some middle of the winter rain, the cracks filled up, and then it went bang to about 30 below, and it pushed.
And that, we spent, and we just paid for gas because Myron Battery and I were in a loader for about 2 weeks. We spent $30,000 on gas and diesel moving that the whole beach all in front of White Sands was decimated. Like, I don't know if you remember below the hall here, there was a bunch of trees, huge grove of trees this big. We had to take them out because they were just in a big stick pile. So it's really difficult. When I went out yesterday, I stepped off the last block.
Yeah.
And it's 12 inches right off the end of it, straight down. So if someone has a small trailer and they're gonna take it out there, they could damage their frame on their trailer. Because it's, you know, as well as once you get into the water, there's rocks as big as your head.
Yeah.
And I went out probably 150 feet to 200 feet. Well, you can see in the pictures there. But the deepest I got was 18 inches of water.
Wow.
And then when you went out for probably 20, 30 feet, it was all rocks. And then there was a portion that was about 20 feet more was all sand. And then it got shallower and then it was all rocks again. Like, it's impossible.
And unfortunately, these blocks, they're thick.
So even if you expanded the length of it, it would take forever to get a boat launch that far.
Right. It just,
The
yeah,
deep
it just doesn't
water
get
is
deep enough.
like hundreds of feet. So we've investigated portable ones, we've investigated.
Well, I'm still working on the portable,
Okay.
because now the season's open, I can go see if they did it.
Buck Lake, wasn't it?
Yeah, Buck Lake, which is out west from where I came from.
Okay,
So-
so we can take a look at what other, municipalities are doing.
Or we could just.
It's
do
such a
resolution with
hard,
municipal engineers to do the investigation
Yeah.
and review it for you guys.
the thing is, if you hire an engineering company or whatever, they have to know that we're on the worst side of the lake.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
can do whatever you want over in the bay.
Yep.
But if you do it on this side of the lake, whatever you do has to be absolutely foolproof. Like, it may have to have some kind of a barrier of riprap out there or
A
something.
breakwater.
Yeah,
They're gonna need to do a breakwater, so that's why I think the municipal engineers would have to review all that and comply, like, do the review and kind of give you guys viable options that you're gonna have to look at and kind of what it's gonna look like in cost.
Can we talk to the county, because they have an interest in this? Can we talk to the county about cost sharing, and maybe not Roshan, but the county for sure, about cost sharing, an engineering study to look into it? Or are we wasting time?
well, I don't know, there's lots of opinions on it, but Dean Pickering told me that there was one up north that they engineered and put in, and it cost them $600 to $1 million to
And
do
it was
it.
Cold Lake, wasn't it?
Yes, Cold Lake has it. They
Cold
have a
Lake
breakwater
has one and-
there because of ice and shifting. My concern is to go and face the county without having a plan.
Yeah, that's not gonna work.
They're gonna.
But they are,
Yeah,
it is in the agreement, I believe,
that there would be funding.
there would be a partnership on our boat launch because of the fact of the Bar W campsite. Like,
Correct.
that was part of the development permit.
So I think
there
it's
is some
your,
cost
and
sharing eventually, but
you're gonna wanna look at, not just in the capital component either.
well,
This
that would be
cost
part
sharing
of-
needs to be
Ongoing.
annual, ongoing. Because it's not fair that you get a capital and then you're stuck with all the maintenance later.
Well, there's not much point of fixing it every spring when it'll just happen again, and we fix it and then we still can't use it,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
but I think it's a kind of a bit, the first step, if council wanted to do it, would be the investigating the cost of engineering to do a proper job. And then the second step, if you have that plan ready, you may be able to get some help with it. But if you don't have the plan, like we can't do it ourselves. I mean,
But we need a shovel-ready solution.
right.
Yeah,
We could then go after grant money to get that done.
correct.
And
So, but sounds like we need to do, I hate studies, but I do. I think they're a waste of time sometimes, but if
No,
I
that's a-
ask you and then tell you what they told you, what you told them.
Yeah.
But is
Paul
there
would know, you're the engineer, Paul.
Yeah, what's your designation? Are you
civil?
civil engineer, mechanical?
I am not. I am a petroleum engineer, geological.
You're no good.
I can identify what those rocks are out there.
Water offshore?
You understand though, that we probably need to have some kind of engineering thing done to give you guys some ideas on costs, where to go.
Yeah, I do have to say, like, I think the idea of trying to build a breakwater or something like that is, I don't know. I'm reluctant to go there because I think, you change the whole sediment flows along the lake too, so it might affect beaches far on either side of it and with the wave action, anything you dredge out is just going to probably fill in again in the next storm. It's such a dynamic lakeshore that it's hard to fight against it. I think it's really trying to work with it and put something out there that, can withstand it. And maybe that floating dock system is a way to go. I don't fully understand what that looks like, but I think that's intriguing.
Basically picture 100-foot, flat deck. Maybe 100-foot rig mat, if you will.
Okay.
That's basically what I'm thinking it is you've seen those rig mats, like 40 feet.
Hmm.
You weld a couple of those together and then you get it in and then you get it out in the fall. But that's basically what it is.
Okay.
And they're fairly narrow. I mean, you could design something different, but you basically have to get it in, skid it in and skid it out every year. And it's typically a steel structure. They do not float. They sit on the bottom. They would get sedimented over the summer, so we would have a challenge to pull it out again. They're not, I don't think they're wheel based. I think they're just, but anyway, we can look into what Buck Lake has, or Cold Lake, one of the two.
Buck Lake and Cold Lake is.
So let's find out what they've got, and to me, to have something permanent without a breakwater, with the dredging, all of that is hugely expensive and probably not all that sustainable.
Yeah. And that's interesting. I haven't walked out there myself, but I think that's something I'd like to do the next time I'm up there. But that's interesting. Like, regardless of what we put in there, if there's not enough water depth for the boats to get in and out anyways, then we're, kind of nothing to do until the lake level hopefully restores at some point anyways. But
There's Danny's neighbor, Hollis, Vernon. His boys put out that it's
Swimming platform.
a
right?
swimming platform on stilts. I think it's a
It's part of a dock.
part of a dock, yes.
It's an 8-foot, 2 sections of 4-foot linked together.
But they put it out, if you go in front of Danny's and you look at it way out there, it's right at the drop off. It's down to, well, it used to be 15 feet, but it's probably 10 or 12 now. But the other thing is too, Paul, what I did yesterday, if you go out there in a week from now, it could be completely different.
Well, where all those boat lifts were put in, there's about a foot of sand that was drifted over the last 2 storms. So where they were in chest high water, they're now at waist high water, just from that last storm. So and most of those boat lifts were turned, not a full, about 45 degrees. Most of them were turned 45 degrees. So it literally picked up full boat lifts and it shoved them up against each other and all of that. So there was, again, if you're looking at a portable dock station, then you're going to, you know, we need to find out what other people are doing. Are they on the windy side of the lake? Are they, you know, how do they get in and out? All of that. Because I
Okay.
think, you know, we don't wanna, well, I think we need to start the investigation.
Right. Okay. So, so to summarize then, what I'm hearing us saying is that excuse me, and I might need to sneeze here, but we're intending to not pursue the repair of the damaged boatlet ramp this year. We're just going to leave it as is, and we're going to continue to look for long-term solutions and continue to work on the other initiatives like you know, the lake stabilization project and all that might help as well. So that's really our current stand right now. Is that what we're all saying?
I think so, Paul, and even if you, well, it should be looked after the election on your plans and stuff or whatever. But certainly, Melissa could just touch base with the engineering company and get that ballpark.
That's what I think, like, give Sarah, our municipal engineer, a heads up that we should probably kind of get them to come out, take a look, do a kind of preliminary. And these are probably cost estimates you would be looking at depending on your, whatever you choose, right?
I think
But I need a resolution by you guys. And I will, I.
So what's the cost of that, having our in-house engineer look at it? Under contract, is that what it is? Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
just
Okay,
to
so-
have a preliminary assessment to get you guys up to speed on.
what was the road over here? What was the preliminary on that? I know it's not the same, but that was engineered out
Why?
on Front Street.
Oh, yeah, no, because they had given you guys that a while back. We had come up with a list of projects and then they had, I had them come and we presented to you, here's a bunch of projects, here's preliminary cost estimates. And then when it came down to it, then we did the actual tender and we were close.
But for her to prepare the initial one, a couple thousand.
Yeah, it's just a time to take.
You wanna make that motion, Paul?
I will make that motion. I don't know if we want to put
No,
an upper limit on the dollars, but if we're thinking that's in, you know, the single digit thousands, I'm comfortable with that. Making a motion to engage an engineering company to do some preliminary high level engine costs of various options for long-term fixes at the boat launch.
We're not going into a full construction, we're just trying to get some.
No, and then actually, well, we'll just before we move on this one, then after things get organized and we get the information back, then it's time to contact the county, I think.
Yes.
And the
Mhm.
important thing about that is that whatever work is going to be done there in the future, in my opinion, should be tendered out. Period.
Yeah.
You know, because
like
it's,
First Street, wasn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
or Front Street, yeah.
Front Street, sorry. And it's going, the engineers, you guys, if you approve it, will authorize the engineers to go. Just like what we did.
put an RFP out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, once you have your discussion on what solution looks like you wanna spend the money on. Is that what it's gonna be? And the grants.
So to
And partner.
engage with the municipal engineers to complete a preliminary engineering review and construction estimates to determine the most viable long-term solutions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's basically what we're doing.
That was by Paul.
Yes.
Yeah, all in favor? Access agreement with Explore Inc.
Well, we got back an answer.
Thank you.
I'm not sure it's the one that I'm really happy with, but if they can link in 70%-ish, then that's an option that doesn't cost us anything. There's no maintenance involved long-term. It's all subscriber paid, whoever links up into it. And I guess we hope or whatever that they find a business case to tie in the rest of the village. It's not an option.
Right.
The concern that I guess I felt was if we, the government, it's kind of out of our control. These were all identified by the government. If we hinder this, may not come back.
Could we ask somebody in the government why this was chosen this way? Or do we just say, hey, it's done, it's approved?
Have you ever sat down with the CRTC? Because as municipalities 10 years ago, we did, and we were the ones who were talking about exactly what you said about sharing. And they kind of work the towers, but we had told them we're tired of all these companies coming in doing the exact same thing when they should be sharing. You tell us to collaborate and share. Where's that?
So we could have this same proposal in a year from Rogers.
For sure, yeah, well, you may, if those big companies even want to come up this way, which we know what that's like. I think there is something in the works with the CRTC. It's been on their books, as he pointed out, that it could come that they have to share the conduit. So once they put a conduit in, they have to share it with every other company, and you can do a lease agreement or annual agreement to share it. It's been on the books. They haven't approved it yet. It's been there for over 3 years. So
you're telling me that in the back alleys in Calgary, there's a Rogers line plowed through, there's an Explorer net plowed through, there could be 5 or 6 or whatever.
Yeah.
Cable and or fiber.
You have TELUS, you have Shaw, they all have their lines going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so this would be a first line.
Yes.
And if we want somebody to expand it, or we want some competition, they may or may not service 135 people.
Well, and the reality is that, you know, for getting out to rural areas like this, it's requiring the government funding to do it. So it's not likely that the government's going to fund a competitive one, but you know, they'll fund next to the other areas that aren't being hit anywhere close. And yeah, like Xplornet said, you know, when they're looking at their business case, when they look at the old village area, that's a bit of a no-brainer that that's an economic thing to do because they're running hundreds of meters of lines and not kilometers of line to service a bunch of homes. So hopefully that's you know, that'll get up there on their priority lists for their expansions.
And it's their timeline. They're limited. They're like
Yeah,
us,
we
right?
gotta give them the go, no go. I mean, I don't even know if there's a no go, but because why would you stop it, even if it
Yeah.
out to some residents will get to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
And even if it's 2, hey, there's 2 more people with a high-speed internet.
And I did clarify with them, all our municipal stuff will have that access, which includes the hall, you name
So
it.
that's the benefit, is we as one of,
Yes.
which we have to pay for,
No, that's all covered under the grant. They're gonna bring it right to us
but you still would pay a monthly fee for connecting.
if we decide to connect. As he had said, it is your choice.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
If we want high-speed internet, you still have to pay the subscription,
Yes.
the monthly subscription.
Of course, yeah.
This just puts the boots in the ground.
Yes, because right now, we pay for Cyban and we're not getting the service we need.
Okay,
Okay, so
Enough,
what do we have to do with that?
make a motion.
The mayor and CEO sign a municipal access agreement with Explorer Inc.
That's exactly it.
Who wants to put their name on it?
Not I said the pig.
Alright, I'll leave Taylor too.
I'll put my name on it, I mean,
I'll go with Dan.
He's the co-owner.
And Lauren and Dan, you guys can come down to my cabin and use my high
Yeah,
speed
you
internet,
can.
because I'll have it.
I just-
And Mayor Thurston.
I just found it bizarre that Councillor Zemble and Mayor Thurston are the 2 that are not. Fair enough.
There you go.
And staying with all the ones on 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
And if they cut my landline, TELUS landline, lots of time on a long weekend, that's the only communication.
Unfortunately, Telus
Well-
has changed, so.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
you know
know.
what, Brenda Braden, counselor over at Lacombe, they did that to her and give her a TELUS thing in the house. Doesn't work worth a pile of crap.
Hey,
Anyway, enough of that.
Hey,
Okay,
Mayor, your report.
no, we gotta do the regional fire information.
Oh, I missed that one, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Sorry.
just basically,
the commission again.
the commission, they're making application to become a commission, and they have up to, what's it, 3 years transition period or something, if it goes ahead. And it may not.
They're basically saying they're not gonna leave you high and dry.
Yeah. And they wanted to have a meeting.
They gave 3 dates.
Yeah.
So I know I had some confusion when I read it, and I haven't been part of the background discussions on it, but would this ultimately mean that the town of Stettler will have their own fire station and fire department,
Yeah.
and then the county and us and everybody else that joins the commission will have like a separate fire hall, separate equipment?
Yeah, but shared
Right.
at times, maybe, I don't know
you
what.
still will have mutual aid.
Yeah.
Mutual aid will always be there no matter
Right.
what. Okay, it just means that regionally, we were sharing in the town of Stettler, the hall, the equipment, costs for replacement, things like that. Didn't matter, you just did it. Now, if you go to a commission and the other one doesn't want to be in the commission, then it will end up being a notice of separation, but there's room to renegotiate this. They could come back.
Right.
May not.
Yeah, you know, and the mutual aid, of course, is important. You know, that if there's a big event on either one, that everybody's going to help, and that would be expected, and that would be important. But these are both volunteer fire departments, right?
Yes.
They have some permanent staff, like the deputy chief, the chief.
Right.
I think they have a 3 or 4 staff.
Okay.
But basically what this would do is take, the Stettler Fire Hall now hosts 2 different fire departments. And they both live and store their equipment in the same building. This would potentially, as it moves down the road, the county and commission would have a different fire hall,
Okay.
different responsibilities, and the commission would still involve Big Valley, Benalda, and Rhinelander.
Right.
Big
But-
Valley too.
And what, if you made a 911 call, that would be directed to the county first. If it was a 2-bell alarm, it could, mutual aid, Bashaw could come,
Right.
Macomb could come, whoever could come and would come. So you're
Right.
not, by not joining, doesn't mean you're not gonna get services. You just,
No, but I think, you know, I fundamentally have concerns of how well it would work, you know, in terms of like, you know, staffing a volunteer fire department. If somebody, you know, the volunteers are going to be residents of Stettler by and large. It's not going to be, you know, by and large, that's probably what you're going to have. You know, you got somebody that's willing to volunteer their time. Are they going to volunteer for the town or the county commission fire station? They're gonna volunteer for the one that's going to be fighting the fire in their house and their neighbors' houses. Like, I think to staff 2 separate departments, I think would be an extremely challenging thing to do. And you know, I guess I don't really fully understand the background on this, but you know, reading through the information here, which I'm seeing a lot of it for the first time of you know, the fire chief or fire commissioner resigning based on, you know, reporting into to 2 different heads at the county and the town. Is this a matter of, you know, conflicts between the Stettler County and the fire that is something that is maybe resolvable without going to this this thing? I don't know.
Well, I can give some background. They do have different volunteers. In some cases, those volunteers will volunteer for both, but the county has their volunteers and the town has their volunteers. And they're both short, so they do tend to rely on each other, but they are separate. Fire chief, they have a separate volunteer, they have separate trucks, they have separate everything in the same building.
That's the way it is right now.
Yeah, they have separate lockers, they have separate, I don't know,
That's in the town one?
yeah,
Okay.
they may even use different toilets, I don't know, but they do have some separation, they're just physically located. And I do not think this is going to get resolved. They've tried it and they mutually signed a treaty that they would work together, and that has, I think it's just too many bosses possibly with different agendas. One would spend more time putting in more fire hydrants and the other would put more bushwhackers out there. I don't know, Paul.
Or
But-
work on dry hydrant.
Yeah, so they would,
Things like that.
they have slightly different agendas, but yeah, there was some conflicts and to the point where Stettler didn't even show up for this meeting. They were invited to it. So I don't think, it's a fairly clear response to say they want theirs and the rest of us want something more of a rural.
Okay. So what do we have any choices here? Like, do we have a choice to say no thanks to this commission, or
But
are
you
we
can
just being
rely
carried
on-
along?
You can rely on the town of Stellar, but all their trucks except one all run off hydrants.
You can choose, at the end of the day, if you choose not to get involved in the commission, you can still choose to have an agreement with the town. It's just the town has
No way to
different
pick
equipment.
fires.
They have no way of really fighting a fire here. So it really isn't, we can still say we're not part of the commission, then we have absolutely no say. And we would still pay pretty much the same amount. I think that what we would still have to have some sort of agreement with somebody. It's a provincial mandate, is it
Right.
not?
Yeah, and the thing is, the cost is gonna go up, so.
The cost will go up no matter what we do.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah. So
because
they're-
if the one community goes on their own, their costs are gonna go up, which means you're gonna have to reimburse them, and you're gonna, the county. So the unfortunate situation is when it comes to volunteer fire departments, all your volunteers can be trained with whoever they choose.
Mhm.
And they can show up for whoever they choose. It's not like in the city where you have paid people that they stay there, they're there. They fulfill that obligation. Here, it's trying to pull those volunteers together, and those volunteers can choose what they want.
And you're right, Paul, they do have to be within a certain distance from the fire hall. And no matter if it's county or town, that fire hall, it looks like will be located within the town of Stettler. So you'll just have the one, town one is kind of on the east,
Facilities.
yeah, by Sobeys. And the county one that they're proposing is near the county offices more by the rec center.
Yeah.
So you'll technically have one that's 2 minutes closer to us.
Yeah, and that's possibility that might have changed.
Yeah, and that was their,
Yeah.
A preliminary, but I heard another.
yeah, location.
rumor, yeah.
Okay,
I heard it.
but either way, it's still going to be situated centrally.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Well, I don't see this as being an ideal situation, but it sounds like we really don't have an alternative to going along with the county on this one.
Either way, we're gonna pay more.
Yeah. Hmm.
That would
Okay.
just, I'm agreeing to that, yes. Either way, we're going to pay more.
And you know, I'm not sure it's a better overall model than trying to have it a coordinated town and county station and response and pools of volunteers. But yeah, it's interesting what you said about it hasn't really been that way in the past, and I did not know that.
Okay, I guess we're done with that part.
Well, I
What do we
think
need on that?
they wanted some information,
They want
right?
to appoint, a representative, that word, and provide the county of Stellar with written confirmation and join the first meeting, but they also wanted a date, which one would work best.
So these
in
meetings
the
are
first
all
letter.
in June,
Yeah, we're coming up next week.
next
Okay.
week, yeah, and are we in council after this meeting?
Technically.
Yeah, we're council until the election.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
And
we have a special meeting.
so we continue, yeah, we have okay, so
So really what it looks like they're asking is if your village or Summer Village is willing to continue discussions, so your motion would be to continue discussions and or ready to commit to joining the Regional Fire Commission and to appoint a representative to work through the process and pick a day.
At the time, we're going through election to represent.
16, 19, and 20.
well, you know,
Like, are you still open to the discussions? I think that's
Yes.
So.
I would like to recommend that we still continue with, because it's the commission level, not somebody that sits on the commission, but we're having the discussions. I think it's still valuable to have both Lauren and I attend.
Put it in a resolution.
What do you think?
The point.
Doesn't
You've got some
matter.
historical, and I'm kind of involved a little bit with some of the local, and I don't know, I think it would still be valuable to have, and if nothing else, some transitionary stuff. Can we appoint two?
Can't say, you could.
It's your call.
Is that, be okay with that, Paul?
Yes.
So to appoint Mayor Thurston County Resemble as representatives.
Yeah.
And we're providing the county of Stellar with a written confirmation the municipality is still interested.
We don't really have a choice, but yes.
Still interested and join the first official meeting of the Regional Fire Commission.
I'd rather have a say and pay more money than not have a say and pay more
Yes.
money.
So
That's basically
So
what
should
this
you,
is.
in the
So the
letter,
motion should be
yeah,
that the Summer Village of White Sand is willing to continue discussions of joining a regional fire commission and would appoint
Both.
Counselor Sample,
I have to move things around.
yeah, and Mayor Thurston.
To sit on that, and I think I'm 16th, 19th, and 20th.
Okay.
Do they want to know right now which of those dates were best?
Yes, give your preferences to join at the first official committee meeting, date preferences of.
On the 20th, I have a regional waste management meeting. What time did they say?
They haven't got anything.
Morning or afternoon.
well, waste will involve some of their members.
One just got canceled here.
Yeah, waste got canceled.
Yeah.
I thought I saw one
One
just got
just got
canceled.
canceled.
No, that's Shirley McLeod.
Oh, there
There you go.
Okay, I am available, yeah, the Friday works best,
Just the
Right.
20th.
20th.
Yep.
Say 20th.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't conflict with waste. Were you good with that, Lauren?
Okay, 20th, morning or afternoon.
This one's in the morning, so let's make it afternoon.
Okay,
We're available
afternoon.
the afternoon of the 20th, and it'll be both of us.
And we'll get the letter off from today.
Okay.
Okay,
And all in
who put in the motion on it?
I do.
Okay.
All in favor?
Yep.
Pass.
Woohoo, been fixed up.
Okay, just whistling through this.
Council reports.
Right now. it's turn.
Okay, so we discussed the Toboggan Hill. I'm gonna put out another newsletter, because I wanna announce that, town hall meeting, make sure everybody gets the date. And then also, I'll do the newsletter, but we've always asked in the past, sometimes if people would help with the maintenance around their addresses sign, like weed eating and stuff, and even,
Actually, I wanted to do a posting about that.
Yeah.
For emergency response purposes. And it's in our bylaw.
Oh,
yeah,
so you can read the signs.
Yes. And we actually have a bylaw on the addressing sign and it does say that.
Okay. Maintain around your signs.
yeah,
Yeah.
so if the
Clearly
public
visible.
helps, then we don't have to spend a whole
Yeah.
buttload of time.
That's bylaw says they have to.
Okay.
I will do an education with her.
Okay, so I'll leave that with you.
That we have community science bylaw.
Yes, yeah. That's the 5th posting we gotta work on. Yeah, our list just keeps going longer with
You
education.
just do all you schedule them to go vote.
Yes.
And as far as not having any meetings after this one, we're in a lot of stuff, so we can still have one in July.
5 days notice and call it.
Well, we can do.
We can do it
the
Month of July, yeah.
Yeah,
24 hours. If anything urgent arises, then I would contact Lauren and say, hey, have an emergency situation. Could we call a special council meeting and I'll send out the invite to all of you.
What is the reason of not having one in July?
yeah, that's what I wanna know.
Because we're in the middle of,
Nomination days on the
and then
5th.
we got, right after, we gotta do our early votes and. yeah,
Well,
we're in preparation, so.
we got a lot of business to take care of.
Is there, can we request that we have a regularly scheduled council meeting for the second Wednesday?
Sure. Do a motion.
I think we should.
Okay, hold on.
I do too,
Because we're gonna
but
have stuff to.
I don't
otherwise
wanna-
Just leave it and then nothing happens until September. Because by the time the new counselors are in and oriented and trained and,
that's the big gap that
yeah, it's a
is
huge gap.
is not acceptable right now, because we're in the middle of a bunch of stuff. And it's not as though it hasn't never been done before, because you go back through past agendas and we always, not all the time, but I think we need it. And I think you might think it's a burden on administration, but it might be a blessing, because you're gonna have a whole shitload of stuff to look after, not till.
We're doing good though.
I know you are, but
I'm holding
I'm
on.
not saying
I'm
that.
getting
So-
things cleared up with you guys.
So what date would that be in July?
Be your second Wednesday, but I thought my calendar, my computer's not like.
That'd be July 9th.
Thank you.
Yeah, July 9th.
Are you okay with that, Paul?
Yes, yes. I'm not sure whether I'd attend in person or remotely, but yes, I could do that.
Yeah, this seems to work, so.
Yeah, July 9th, 9:30.
Good.
Same as.
Yeah.
Okay,
Do we need a motion for that? or anything?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's good.
Let's do a motion because.
A motion to have a regular
To
monthly
schedule a
meeting.
regular council meeting on
Yeah.
July 9th, 2025 at 9:30 AM at the municipal office.
okay, there's been some movement from the county. Preliminary to look after the Red Willow Lagoon. Get it operational again. So,
But they also suggested that if they did that, it would mostly be for their own use.
no, not necessarily. As far as South Buffalo Lake, I don't think they would ban us from there. That was the intent. What happens, I'm not gonna know what, but the word I got was that I was being let know on that there's movement for the Red Willow Lagoon to be
So they-
open.
So they've got things in play and construction being done. Is what I'm getting.
Yeah, well, they're putting different ideas together. I'm not all sure. Some might be swale and some might be pipe.
Right, they have to get through a private land,
Yes,
That's
so
the
they
one?
must
Yeah.
have that being worked out.
because otherwise it's raw sewage going from the top.
Correct.
The,
Treated.
I hate to bring this up again. The land use bylaw.
Oh, you're gonna be dealing with that right away. Yeah, we need to do a review.
We got some definite issues that have to be fixed.
I think there definitely needs to be a review,
It
but
needs to be reviewed every 3 years,
No, you can do it you can,
but there's a mandatory, is there not? No?
no, it's
Oh, you
not
can do
written
it
in there.
Okay.
2015, and then we didn't do a review until 2022, I think.
I think the review, we need to get through this season. That's why you have MPC. MPC can handle the things that are variances. That's what we created it for, and you put that in your bylaw. Does it need a full review again? I think that's a discussion right after the election, because it all depends on some of the decisions.
It's gonna have to be.
Yeah.
I know damn well.
So do we need to make a recommendation that the new council look into reviewing the land use? Like almost
Would
put it
be-
as a not a mandate, but put some pressure on the new council that should be one of the.
Yeah, and then it's on the,
Yeah,
it's
it's on
there,
there.
and it's, I bring it to the attention right away. Yes, I would recommend having it put into a resolution.
Okay, so the resolution is that, the land use, needs to be reviewed by new council in the fall.
Correct.
Yeah, and it's a really, really educational process.
And you go through each
Yeah,
one.
you do the whole smear, page by page.
Okay.
But it's also, we've been doing it with committee and council. I think last one, I think I was the
We
only
did the
council
full
on
review
there.
and we did, there's a whole consultation process that has to happen. And you have to have a public hearing. If you do a full review, or if you do a tidy up based on some of the things that you've authorized.
But that would
Okay.
basically be wording
Yes,
and improving in definition.
yes.
But if you change a variance, that's a major. So you're gonna have public hearing on that. There's a fine line.
So it's an attempt to have less variances come forward.
No, it's an attempt to straighten out some of the variances because they're just not working.
Okay.
And they haven't been abided by. And I got lots of crap on list. And I just keep track of it over the times.
But you might not be on the new committee.
I don't care. You can have the information and I would
Okay,
explain it to you.
So to instruct the coming new council to review the land use bylaw 186-22 in the fall 2025.
Yes.
And besides that,
I'm-
I'll be at the public hearing.
You'll be the heckler in the background.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
okay,
So at that, as Dan had wrote it, you guys vote?
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah,
alright.
We talked about the roll-off bin. Melissa, I'm gonna have to talk to you just about, I had contact from Craig Maynard again, so he just needs some direction.
That's on the agenda someplace.
Greg Meter?
Is it a new development or something?
No,
No,
Oh, okay, sorry.
he needs to. Let's have a chat.
that's what I think, okay. Then also, remember I got that company out of Red Deer to do some information on pumps and stuff when we were
Yeah.
talking. But it's called Fire and Flood and it's really a top end company.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the fire part, we're looked after, like they're not gonna come and make a contract with us to look after fire, because we have the fire department. It's mainly for the stuff out in
crown lands and stuff like that with government, but flood. I don't know, he said he'd come out and look around and I could tour him around and show him our,
We're mainly
areas.
concerned with the pond at the end of Third, is that,
No, the whole thing, like where we're sitting right now is a,
oh, right, this area is subject to flood.
yeah, 4 feet.
Okay.
And if we
Didn't
didn't,
know where to go.
yeah, like that hill is 4 feet higher than where the dumpsters.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they would set up a contract that we wouldn't have to buy any equipment, we just have to pay a yearly
We
fee.
pay an annual fee, which will,
And I don't know what that fee would be, it depends on where we're at. And I know everybody says we're all concerned about fire and everything else, but you don't know what's gonna happen, do you? And then if it's widespread, you're not gonna get any pumps from anywhere. But
So
if you have
they
a
have
contract,
some guarantees, some service level
yeah,
guarantees.
you go by
Yeah.
there, they're in Burnt Lake, right off Highway 11 there. You go by that yard and they have tons of equipment, but we would be then guaranteed service if we had that.
So this is like
But you have to-
paying an annual retainer
you betcha.
to be higher up on their priority lists.
Yeah.
Subject
Yeah.
to, because everybody's gonna be screaming, if we have that much rain and flooding, everybody's gonna, and we would then, by paying something on an annual fee.
We'd be on contract. We'd be
And
on
they
contract, yeah.
also have the different areas identified that could potentially, where they'd have to mobilize quickly. So
Yeah.
it's a speedier response and they would come out and help us say, okay, we pump from here to here.
Depending on
Yeah.
weather events and where it hits, right?
Like they may, for example, just pull the manhole cover off of the French drain
Yeah, and let it go.
and then put a big pump down there,
Oh,
draw it out and push it over the hill.
yeah.
But you need a 6 or an 8-inch pump to do that. If
And the
it's
same
bad,
thing with the one over there
yeah,
and
and
the
they,
same thing with Third.
yeah,
So those 2 or 3 areas.
yeah.
So they would help us identify, we have the study, but
Mhm.
they would help us identify the priority and how.
Yeah, and I could show him where all the infrastructure is and everything else.
Yeah.
This kid, he's sounded receptive, but if they're busy with fire, they may not be able to come out right away, but I could certainly look into it, if you want me. Like, I mean, I already,
We got the main numbers of what the equipment would cost.
yeah,
we do get
yeah,
the
we're
number,
looking
yeah.
from for a pump just to sit there is 60 to 100,000 for a 6-inch.
Yeah, that's
Just
a
to
lot of
sit
money.
there.
To sit,
Yeah.
Yeah, if we don't use it.
which we might not use it in 10 years.
No, and it,
Might be 100-year flood, we might not use it in 100.
you don't know. I mean, and maybe the impellers would be rotten, who the hell
with,
knows, right?
maintenance on
And the
that.
hoses. But I don't know, maybe I'll just phone them
Well, can
again.
you find out what it would cost to have, like a review and then get some kind of guarantees, and then what would that cost on an annual basis?
Yeah.
I think I have that here, give me 2
I don't
seconds.
think it's given.
Okay, just to buy the pump itself,
We're not buying a pump.
okay, cause that was
No,
76,000.
We're not buying a pump. That makes no sense, when there's all kinds of oil field pumps, but I just want the availability of a pump. That's all we're paying for.
Yeah, give me a second, cause there was. So. Thought it had the fee on it.
I don't know, not from them guys.
I didn't see any. But I think that's worthwhile. To
Yeah,
be
and
prepared.
just an investigation.
Yeah, I think the annual fee part we did not get, so that would be the only one you
No,
have
he
to.
wanted to come out and see.
Yeah, and then just ask, I don't think we need to put permanent pumps rust and seize, and when you need to use them is when they're not working, whereas if they haul something from their yard because you're starting to flood or we've had a lot of rain, it's a freshly maintained one, it's good to go.
Well, they're all just spanking new in the,
Yep,
in the.
and they pull them
compound.
out here and, away you go.
So, Councillor Exemplar, are you asking Mayor Thurston to ask fire and flood to review the community for flood mitigation? Is that what we're kind of
Yeah, mitigation contract, mitigation. Flood, not fire.
Together a proposal.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
want costing.
Yeah,
A review and proposal.
your proposal.
I don't know. A vote to proposal, something like that.
Yeah, that might be prohibitive too. I don't
Proposal
know.
contract,
Yeah,
yeah.
might be $100,000 a year.
Come back, there you go.
Alright,
Okay.
there you go. I guess vote on it,
All in favor? I'll make the motion.
alright.
Or Dan.
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah,
Dan
sure.
was kind of doing it and asking you to do it,
Yeah,
so.
I was asking you to do it. Yeah, right.
Okay, so, I got a hold of, or I was talking to Jeffrey Way up in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Canada Post.
Okay,
Because
thank
when
you.
I was away in Texas, he came and it's too bad because I'd like to see him. I haven't seen him for a long time.
You didn't see him say hi, and I told you that.
Yeah,
You need a physical visit.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so what's the update?
well, it's.
Didn't tell us his
It's in my
report.
report.
Oh,
but
shit, okay.
That's okay, I can give you, let me just go to that really quickly. What did I put it in?
So you're getting mailboxes and when? We know where, they're gonna be put out here somewhere?
Okay, I can remember.
I can.
Yes, we met.
Okay,
We looked at the locations and based on the need for parking,
Snow maintenance and all
maintenance,
that.
like all the maintenance and stuff like that, cause I had said, they had said they'd do the whole construction of it and install them. And I said, we can do the maintenance. I find that, we'll partner with that, that's great. And for security wise, right over here,
by the sign.
yes, and we said we can relocate the sign. There was a way of doing different setups where you can do rows, and I said that, I think a straight row. And approximately 150 boxes, because we have about 130 permanent residents. And then there's room for
Expansion.
expansion.
Yeah,
That many.
so we actually, so the population, I got you on here.
We got 60 some households.
68 households and
Yes.
2 office.
Yeah.
Like one for the hall society and one for us, so it's 70 altogether. And he thought that they would do double, whatever that is.
Yeah.
For people that are gonna retire.
So no cost for install
No.
or buying them or
No.
putting them in. The only cost is to keep the snow cleared.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
grass mowed and the weeds picked or
And-
whatever.
And security wise, that was the best location.
and the other thing is, whoever doesn't take it will have to pay for their box in Erskine or.
Cause you can only, yeah, cause they provided you with the local option.
Right.
Yeah. And it's a
But-
free year to change your address, they won't charge on that,
They
so.
give you cards
Yeah.
to send out.
That.
What else? It would be 5 days a week. And delivery of parcels would possibly eventually go over to personal addresses in the village instead of the mail compartment boxes in the CMBs.
So if you wanted Amazon delivered, right now, it would go to that bottom of the box, they got a slot.
Well, this opens the door, because right now, okay, right now, because the municipality doesn't even have a postal code, we would actually get a postal code, right?
Okay.
So that establishes the location. Which now Canada Post will handle their portion of it, which, yes, some things will come through Canada Post. But it opens the door now for the other delivery and ordering stuff. Which is like Amazon, if you don't have a postal
Yeah.
code, then
Well,
they're not coming.
Yeah,
this
you have to
way.
have a postal code and a physical address.
Yes,
So if you have a physical address, so those post boxes will not be box 204,
No,
it'll
no,
be
they're your street
your-
address.
your street address.
But
Yes.
it doesn't. So what happens in town, if you go to mailbox, just a mailbox, you get Amazon there. But if you have a street address,
They deliver.
they deliver right to the house if it won't go in the box.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
if the boxes are full, they deliver to the house, but they have to make it secure. And if you're not home, they leave a card.
Well, that's good news, that was a lot easier than.
But some people aren't gonna like it, right?
we will.
I think
We'll be
most people
happy,
will like it, some people won't.
Yeah. it'll make things much
You're never gonna
easier.
make everybody happy, but yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I got. Except Danny, I wanted, and Paul, I'll get this to you sometime, just that list.
Okay, my report's really simple, oh, okay. I only had the recreation committee, and you heard their report, so, that went well, and, yeah, it went really well. I mean, we did learn that a lot of people just, hey, we don't want much change, we don't need a bunch of services, we like our nature. That was pretty vocal, small things, yeah, we can do, and I think, that the message was, even though it was 30% said everything's cool, even in the responses, a lot of them said, we still wanna keep green and not change a bunch of things. And a lot of, some of it was not in my backyard because people do treat some of these MRs and green spaces as their backyard, and that's why they're here. So if they are changes, we have to be very cognizant of that, the people that are surrounding that area. And we will have some resistance on some of that.
It was years ago when Ernie and Peggy started this subdivision in the county, there was streetlights. Poles are still in all the posts, if you look. Just in this small part of the village in the front street.
So anyway, that was kind of all I had with that. Paul, do you wanna, you've given us one.
Yeah, a couple updates from my end. County of Stettler Housing Authority update. Still in information gathering mode about the potential costs and fixes for having lost its charitable status back a number of years ago that the board just became aware of this year. So we do have another meeting scheduled for next week. The May meeting was postponed. We'll hopefully get more information this coming week, and I can bring that back perhaps in the next council update, as well as there's a underlying HR issue that has just been discussed in camera with this right now. So we'll get an update on that once that has come out for public information. Parkland Regional Library System, main update on that is just around there's an executive committee within the library system that meets on a monthly basis, and the larger board with all the 50 municipalities or whatever just meets on a quarterly basis. So we're part of Area 6 on this executive committee, and our representative on that has surrendered her seat, but a councillor from Donalda, Shalea Fox, has agreed to be the Area 6 representative representing our areas going forward, and that covers Bashaw, Clive, Donalda, Lacombe, Roshan Sands, and us. I guess the other thing on there is they're starting to work towards 2026 budget preliminary work. Rates right now are $9.81 per capita. Probably going to be low tens, I think, is where they might be bringing forward for approval. But we'll see on that. Lots of discussion on cost of living allowance for staff, whether that will be part of it or not. So those discussions are ongoing. And then final update was just an email update that I got from Stettler District Ambulance Association last week. They had an ambulance that had a collision with a moose that totaled the ambulance. Fortunately, there was no passengers on the ambulance at the time, and no injuries, but totaled the ambulance. I guess caught on fire, which the ambulance attendants were able to put out, but not a good scene. But they're everybody is okay, and they're moving forward with insurance for replacement. But they do have, I think, a spare unit, so it won't be any disruption to service. That's all I've got.
Thanks, Paul.
Motion to accept. Let's see the parts.
Yep, all in favor,
Yeah.
Okay. This is B.
Your report.
Okay, I provided you guys a written copy of my verbal report. Key notes out of it, grants financial reporting, you can see that we did not get the summer jobs grant, so that's a 6,000 budget shortfall. But we're working within our guidelines and I think we can be okay. May 14th, we got our audited financial statements, tax rate bylaw, and our MSI, LGF, SFE submissions, all to municipal affairs. They wouldn't process anything until our FIR was in, so that's all good. Gitzel and Company advised that as requested by council to ask, that the cost for completing the 2025 financials could be lower this because the person who was on mat leave will be back. So I would say we can look at the budget numbers for the auditor for next year, will probably stay the same or lower. Okay. Intermunicipal cooperation, I received notice from Ocean Sands that their council approved the purchase of a drive-on floating dock system for the regional fire rescue Sea-Doos. And the formal invitation will be extended to the Summer Village of White Sands to partner in the acquisition once they figure out all the costs. Don't have finals yet, but it looks like they have found one at a reasonable cost, so the request could come in around 1,000 or under. Okay. Shoreline management. I had a Teams meeting with Christine Bolton and asked some key points. Docks must be placed starting at the water line, not from the high water mark during full water conditions. They don't encourage that at all. No specific dock length restrictions. Emphasis is on minimizing shoreline disturbance. That's what it's about. So, and then recreational leases do not permit docks for foreign storage. They have never operated in municipalities through their lease.
As far as docks on the water line, not the high water mark, are there any that are out of compliance and are we enforcing?
I just asked the question because you guys were wondering about getting the whole docks. That's
Yeah.
why the question was asked.
So it could be any length, but they're supposed to start at the water's edge.
Yes.
So when somebody starts it at the high mark, what?
Because
you're
the
gonna
low-
ask them to put it in further?
If they did, they could get themselves into hot water, especially with low water levels that we have. It's when the water meets sand and it's opened up. So basically from there, or you can take it out farther, that's your call, as long as you don't go through the 1.5 meter.
So of the
They don't want you using the high.
30, 70 docks that we have registered,
Yeah.
or
Like 30?
30, okay, 30.
30 this
Out
year.
of the 30 that are registered, are they all in compliance? Because they would have to have that as part of their drawings or GPS or whatever, correct?
I would hope they are, but I'm not going down there.
That's TFA, that's a
That's with the
So
Alberta
that
government.
would have been not submitted to us, we collect the fee to process it, that's it.
We got the fee for, give them a letter to process, or
To cross.
to cross the MRERs.
Okay.
Along the.
Yeah.
Sure. And they need that letter from us to
They
deposit.
also
TFA.
have to obtain from the lake shore.
Yeah.
That they can put it in front of their.
They're back, but they're back.
Well, they're all backlot owners, and technically, they don't, we encourage, they talk to the person, we encourage that, just so we don't have conflict.
Yeah,
Or we kind of give them a location with them. Be less
but we don't have any locations where, like, do we need to follow up on the fact that they're supposed to be in the water?
That should all be worked out through their TFSA. I just was checking for verification.
So this isn't part of us having to.
Okay.
That's what I guess that's what I was.
They're not
You're not getting, no one's getting,
In
any, like, you apply for your temporary field authorization, but you never get an answer back because they don't have the staff to do it in the past 2 years.
And I'm not going to enforce this.
It's not our, yeah, it's not our shoreline.
Yeah, but it was a question that you had posed, and so I just threw it out
No,
there.
that's good. It's good.
And
Yeah.
then remember I phoned you, I think, and said the dock could be
Twice the width. But they're saying,
That's, and that's in the, in legislation. And they're supposed to change the legislation, but they haven't done that either, so.
but this is their professional opinion.
Yeah.
They can do
Yeah.
something. Okay,
Yeah, as long as you don't go past the 1.5 meter.
And
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
interesting comment, the line that's closest to the water of the high low water mark, that low water mark fluxes each year.
Yes.
So if it's higher and it goes past the high water mark, that is where it's at, and we lose MR for however long. The
Oh,
water's
high water
at that
mark.
high,
Yes, exactly.
it's still at that line, I guess.
Yeah.
We didn't know that.
oh,
But
We
the
found
other,
out about the fluctuations in the shorelines and
Yeah.
how it all changed.
but the other part is like down at the end of Front Street, when the lake was the highest,
Yeah.
we were losing the MR and it was about 20 feet from personal
Wow.
property line.
Yeah.
And I had Bob Short note to say, well, what's gonna go on here? And he said, well, where is this water? Where's the water? And I said, well, the right of way is completely in the water.
Yeah.
And then he said, well, it's not the government's business to.
No,
fix it."
we found out it fluctuates, so that high water mark, that's just a general.
Yeah.
But it can fluctuate, and then ER is very strict, if it's environmental reserve, the regulations are stricter, must be maintained as natural habitats.
So we don't have any.
We do.
We do,
One little wee stinking piece.
nope, all over there, we have ER, yeah,
No,
yeah,
that's right of way.
I will, she's getting me the maps, we'll sit down.
We
It's
looked.
pegged. It's all pegged down there too, so
Yeah.
we got the maps for that.
But I did ask about docks and mooring storage, and that's the what I got, so. Golf cart program reporting, so we completed the initial usage report to Alberta Transportation, we got our notice, we complied, it's done. So we submitted the April data, which was nil, but we got it done. And the next report is due July 31st, and we'll go on to that. Taxation, tax notices are mailed out along with the information on the rec committee survey, upcoming election, payments are being received, processed accordingly. May 22nd, we did the quarterly newsletter, we got that all out. Fire services, May 26th, we did a fire ban was implemented in response to the weekend fire event. We've been working with regional fire, you know, to have your meeting. Roads and infrastructure, so the seasonal road ban was off that weekend. May 24th.
signs are still up.
Right. That's, I got it clarified, so. We also got our fuel pad, we passed the inspection here, so now we're in compliance. We've got our permit all approved, developed, and we now have a fuel tank that we're using. And so that's all good. I also completed the circular materials phase 2 intake to get the municipality's PPP recycling program under the EPR for operational October 1st, 2026. So that's packaging paper products, and this shifts the financial and operational responsibility of residential recycling programs to producers. I haven't got it all quite figured out yet, but I got it in. So phase 2 is done. The Hall Society planted flower boxes and we are maintaining them with weekly watering. We couldn't commit to more frequent watering due to, we've got a lot of stuff we're trying to do, and to do 3 days a week would really hinder all our other stuff. So we applied mulch to improve the water retention. Met with Canada Post, you already know about that. Municipal office, we're just about done. AC unit, landscaping complete. Handicap ramp, as you see, under construction. We've already had the building codes guy out, we're on track. So we're expecting this will all be done by next week. I am done. Don't ask me to do another office. Dust control, I have met with Novamin out of Black Falls and we got a quote. We're gonna do 1.2 kilometers of the road, which is Buffalo and Jennifer. Cause they're the busiest. Because, our grant, I thought it was 16, but it's actually 15,000. We can go a little bit over when we do it, but we're approved for it, and the quotes came in at 15,000.
Without grading,
Yeah.
so we're not gonna grade,
No, we have to grade,
so
so
that's
gonna be additionally on top of that, so you could guesstimate we're gonna be over a little
on the
bit.
road maintenance. That's-
Yes, but if we did any more, we would have to resubmit and wait for approval, and I just wanna stay as close as possible.
But the grant would cover off and then we might have to pay extra for the grading.
No, they will accept a little bit over, but if I went too far over, we'd have to resubmit.
Okay.
So,
And
so
we're comfortable with just those two?
I feel comfortable with those right now. This is a new product, new company, so we wanna try it.
And we don't think you or whatever, the main drag doesn't need it?
At this point in time, and because it's pretty late, I think we need to reassess that road a little bit more. And they came out and they said, actually, our roads are in pretty good shape. So this is just get one application this year. We're only being charged for 1.5. When actually they're gonna do what they should do, which is 2, and they're giving it to us at a grace because they don't want us to go extreme in our budgets. And I think moving forward, we will reassess how much farther we should go and look at the product for
And we
next
look
year.
at this every year. We review it
Yes,
as part of our
Yeah.
transportation.
Yeah. because if it's a good product and it's definitely, they said, environmentally friendly, won't hurt vegetation, might be something to look at doing everything, but it's gonna be a big cost.
He's doing the math for this year.
Yeah, we're not sure, it goes from 100,000 up to 200 and some thousand, so we just haven't got it quite figured out yet, but it would be good to make sure that we get on track ahead of time. But I found a company, close, that was the first. So that'll be getting done, I'm working on that. Permits, okay, RV permits, 31 issued, 6 are temporary.
How many was there last year?
I think, what did we have last year?
We were up to about 80.
Yeah, so this is just like ones that have actually received the permit. I've received payment, but not like the application. There's a few I'm waiting on application, so I can give them the actual permit too.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
they're not counted in that.
Yeah, those aren't counted.
I like giving you these reports, so you know kind of where we're sitting at. Golf carts, 31 approved, 1 in process.
Did you have any feedback on the difficulty that they're facing on getting insurance?
We have had some inquiries about it. I've kind of put it to them as every insurance company is different.
Yep.
If it has to go under your automobile like you do a UTV, try that way.
Okay, but it hasn't stopped anybody.
No,
Okay,
because we're not saying it has to be on your house insurance, we're just saying we
Gotta have-
need that.
You need the $2 million liability.
Yeah, however you do it on your insurance, leave it for you.
because some insurance companies said we won't insure a golf cart unless it's on a golf course.
Good for that.
Yeah, and I
Yes.
believe also the ones I looked into, because people had concern, this was in, they just, only Ontario and Alberta are the ones licensed so
Yeah.
far, so if their company,
They haven't caught up with it.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Docks and mooring, we have 18 permits approved.
That's way high. Sorry.
Development permits, 3 approved, 5 in process. We do quite a bit of development, I'll tell you that. To require variance under land use bylaws, so you're having an MPC this afternoon. And subdivision application, we will be having a special council meeting on June 26th, because there's a process we have to go through first
What
before we can
time?
bring it to you.
10 o'clock.
10 a.m. And I did send out an email on that.
Not an MPC meeting,
No, this has to be, subdivision has to be done.
oh, it's a
through-
subdivision, okay,
Through a council meeting.
right.
You are you are the authority for subdivision. So it's,
Can we get the information sooner?
you will, once we finish the other process, because we have to do certain processes of notifications and all that kind of stuff, so we'll be able to give you the whole rundown.
Okay, and that one was at what time again?
And,
10?
On the 26th of June.
yeah, and you'll get a package ahead of time.
Okay, like, I just saw the ones for this afternoon, yesterday.
Yeah, that's the one we got from June.
So,
Yeah,
I
MPC is a little,
but still, the timeline on studying them documents. We need more time than just a. You know, so if they
Yeah.
can't make it. Apply for it before. We can get it out with the. With the same as the time before
5 days.
a council meeting. You know, it's difficult.
well, subdivision, it's easier for me because when I get that, I know that there's a 20-day process. So that's why I could figure out, we were calculating dates, what's the timeline. So that we can get the notices out to be able to do, because. Yeah, it's a little bit more straightforward. MPC is a little bit different. We might need to sit here and do maybe how are we actually going to, what's the timeline? Are we gonna tell them, you have to give us this amount of time? But we have to look at it in the appeal thing. MPC is looking after your land use bylaw, which can be appealed.
Right. No,
Yeah,
I
the actual development
understand all that,
application.
but the thing is. To get the information to council.
Yeah.
A little bit more time would certainly help.
Yeah.
And we're not supposed to visit the site or anything else, we're supposed to get the report from the development. Team, officer
Yes.
team.
Yeah.
And make a decision. And a recommendation that comes, but we have to also be really, really careful.
For sure.
Unfortunately, development people, they want answers and they want it now, and I'm doing what I can.
Well, that's all fun and dandy, but not a day before though.
No, so maintenance updates are ongoing, so municipal reserve, grass cutting, outdoor washer maintenance, cistern refilling. So we figured out that we use approximately 100 liters. If it's just us, the two buildings. Hall rentals, we figured out we'll use about 2 cubes of water. So tree flowering, watering, fire lane mowing, all that kind of same old stuff. The safety incident, we have electrical cord found during MR maintenance between Ranch Road and Horseshoe Lane. Property owners have been notified. We're notified due to the electrocution risk, and we will continue to monitor.
They were notified when it was on the grass, or they were yes, so
Yeah.
they have moved it
Yes,
down toward the culvert.
and I think I will be doing a little more education than. Because the risks
It's still
are.
still
From one
Cord across
property
MR.
to another.
with an MR in between.
Yes,
That's not gonna work.
It is the way it is right now. They've run a cord from one property to the other. Before it was just across the MR grass. And now it's across the culvert. Just above the culvert. That's that spot where the culvert drains into Jack's Pond back.
it's in that new development that we just assumed.
Not Jack's, the new one.
Yeah.
It's a little grassy spot. That we maintain, it's about 8 feet.
On top of the culvert. Yeah.
It's basically on top of the culvert.
It's just unfortunate that
So
we
we
had,
didn't hit it with the lawnmower, but we could have.
yeah, we had cut the grass and didn't know it was there.
So if they whippersnip, now they've moved it down, but it's still, we. They whippersnip down there and hit it.
Yes.
Oh, it shouldn't be there.
Okay, well, so we're gonna notify them again?
I'm gonna work on notification with them and work out situation. Complaints received, unauthorized quads on shoreline, I'm gonna address with educational outreach. Roadside parking on public roads, I'm also gonna address with education of transportation bylaw and kind of just keep the roads open. Don't block fire lanes in case of emergency, and we're addressing signage on that too. Use of vacant lots, what are allowed uses, RV storage, etc. Still working through that with the land use bylaw, that might be a clarification that we'll need.
Well, the RV, that was really a contentious issue
I know it is.
before though,
Yes.
because we just voted it up in court.
Oh, I know.
So the actual, what happened was the RV was on a lot that didn't have a cabin on it. It had a garage on it. But folks were made to move it off there because we didn't know whether it's being used or not.
Yeah.
And it was a real big kerfuffle because you're not supposed to have an RV occupied on an empty lot if you don't have a permit. But the other part of that puzzle is if you put a RV on a lot, then you gotta put a sewer tank in there.
Right, but I think it's coming down to some of the other issues of, okay, you got an RV, what else? If you start putting everything else on, does it become unsightly?
I don't know.
I'm not
It's,
sure.
It's the same as in the community standards bylaw, for example.
Yeah.
We had a problem in the past with people putting boat trailers and trailers that weren't being used on the MR and the road allowances. And it says in there that you can't do that. Like at the end of Front Street, they used to use that roundabout for boat trailers and stuff. But then we found one for a pontoon boat way in the bush behind. They went through someone's yard and pushed it out there, so we had to make them move that. But if you let it happen, it just kind of
It goes
blossoms.
on, yeah, yeah, so I think there's discussions that we're gonna look at different things, maybe bylaws, maybe land use, I'm not sure.
Yeah, but I would suggest looking at the community standards bylaw too, because there is,
Yes.
we kind of forget about that bylaw sometimes.
No, that's on my radar.
Sorry. I'm just saying to Paul and
Oh, yeah,
Dan.
and then the power line right away use on MR land, so that's in the same thing.
So is that the same area? It looked like the same area where that MR is the access into that large square MR portion between fourth and third.
That little skinny toward the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah, that is exactly
So
it.
that's the tree?
It's further down. Oh, no, it's further down.
But then why is that picture in there?
Because that's the actual entrance that we need.
So what
That's
are
our
we,
right of way.
so what are we doing about that?
Wow.
Make the decision later.
Oh, is it later? Sorry, I didn't, no, it's wrong.
It's in your correspondence, so we can talk about it.
Okay, okay, great.
So my report's done.
Let's accept the CAO report as presented.
Just before we do that, I don't know if this is the place to do it, but I was just thinking as we were going through that. In this package of minutes, do we have kind of the action items from last meeting anywhere on here? Because I was just thinking that I thought there were a few things that we haven't really hit on. One was that we're going to follow up on more discussion of a draft for the gate access. And then I think Dan had asked for an assessment from Melissa on making 5-day-a-week operations at the offices, and I don't think I've seen anything on that, but I can't recall exactly what the direction was in the last meeting on those two things that come to mind.
We asked if we could have coverage. That was a couple meetings back.
Actually, wasn't that in my review?
I thought that was a review.
It was in a review. My CAO review.
No, but no, I think what Paul is saying is, I think my question back then was, what things could we change or do to allow, we're not asking you to work 5 days.
Yeah.
We're asking what changes could we make so that the office is open on Monday and closed on Friday at whatever time. So in other words, it might be an overlap of administration where Erin might come in Monday, you don't. And then you come in Friday, she doesn't. So there's always somebody in the office. That we wanted to look into that. That's the way we looked at it, wasn't it? Is that what you're talking about, Paul?
Yeah, I thought we had asked for that in a follow-up meeting, and I don't remember if that was 2 meetings ago or last meeting. I know it came up in the review, but I thought it also came up as a direction you had given in council.
We wanted to kind of investigate that. We asked you to.
Okay. So I didn't remember it coming up in council.
I just see it in minute or prior, yeah.
Yeah, so if that is a resolution we want to make now, then I can bring it back.
I think that's old business that we can, put back forward, as a resolution.
Yeah.
That was one, and then the second one. So, sorry, I would like a resolution.
The other one
that staff look into ways that we could keep the office open by shifting shifts between the staff so that we had coverage Monday to Friday, Monday morning, 9 o'clock to Friday at 4:30. It was just a consideration of, yes, it's easy, let's do it, or no, we can't because of whatever. I'd like some, what was the second one, Paul?
It was on the
Oh,
beach gate access
yeah.
policy.
Yes, that on.
Yeah.
I forgot something. We got caught up in all this other stuff, we didn't get to that policy, you're correct. We've got it on our radar, it's just, we got caught in all of this.
So we're deferring that discussion.
So that
And
is,
that was to be, like, we get
Emailed out.
emailed out after, we
And then-
just haven't got there.
yeah,
It's been.
you've
boring.
approved that we need to make these changes and to email out
Did we come
prior.
up with a solution?
Yeah, you had, we just gotta get it in there.
Put in the policies, have you guys review it again, and that was, mostly you do it through email, and then, yeah, say yes or no, and then.
Okay.
It's just that it's on our list, it's just this list and all the other stuff. To go with.
That would be a good catch, Paul.
Thank you,
Okay.
Paul.
Did I'm trying to remember in previous minutes, or maybe it's in other boards, it can be helpful just to have, following the minutes of the previous meeting, just here's a list of the action items and a status on it. I thought we had that in previous packages.
We
We
did.
have, I just, the last couple ones, it's been a few, and I brought them up with Melissa, we got the Gitzel one from the last meeting. We brought it into a report, the other one was a gate policy, but neither of us have had any time to.
Okay.
Even look at it.
Just
We'll
as
bring
feedback,
it
it can be helpful to have that in that, and then just, it's had to bump down the priority list. We'll cover it next meeting or something like that. And that's fine. Just, I just kind of going through this and thinking, wait a minute, we had that and I haven't seen any discussion as we're going through.
We did have it, I think we've just been so busy that we're pulling as fast as we can. So we will get it back.
Okay.
Okay, financials.
We didn't have a resolution to accept.
Yeah.
Melissa?
First, we have to do the first move by council member to have administration to investigate on having the office being open 5 days per week and bring back to next meeting in July's meeting. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, vote.
All in favor? Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then who wants to accept the CRCO report as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Okay, financials, Melissa.
It's there for you. Taxes, we are, we ended up putting that in anyway. So where are we at? So we've got the taxes in there. So our expenses, we are basically in some areas, we're quite under for being almost 6 months in. Yeah, based on the new budget. Any questions for you guys? These are the
Some-
real numbers, but
On the first page where we're looking at the 2025 budget and 2025 actuals,
yeah,
it says taxes budget 972,000 received. It says we've already received 954,000. Is that right? Because the tax notices just went out.
that is when we do the tax notices and we do the process to send them out, it will calculate everything and throw it into, that's the actual that we've submitted out.
Okay, so that's kind of what we're anticipating to receive, not necessarily what you got the checks in the bank for.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and this also with anybody who calls the assessor and they reassess, all these things will fall into here that are, we can't account for.
Okay.
So if the assessor makes an assessment change, then we have to update, reset.
Okay, so basically this is invoiced amounts, not necessarily cash in the bank amounts.
Yes.
Okay,
That's in the next sheet.
okay. That's the only question I had as I looked through it.
Otherwise, for transportation, we're at 60. We've had quite a bit, but that's our highest expense one. We're trying to keep our levels down as much as we can, so we can help balance them.
Okay, can we move them both?
Look at the, yeah, any questions about the price?
What about the bank reconciliation? This is the one that Paul's asking. So, yes, we sent out the tax notices. We're just collecting the revenue. We are still at a deficit operating according to the bank account until everything comes in. So the next month we will be out of the deficit then. Does that make sense?
Theoretically, for the you were hoping,
Yes.
the taxes are coming in that fast. It's good, you guys can approve the items, of the financial report was presented
Okay,
here, alright.
all in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, correspondence.
We're getting there. This is the longest correspondence for just about 1 o'clock. We should be able to get a slight break in if we look through this. That's your guys' call.
LGFF, that's our big grant that we get every year, so
Yeah, that's our amounts.
capital 77,000 and then operation is 18. And then information for 2026.
Slight increase.
And McIver's no longer.
No, he took on a new job. He's the speaker.
He'll do good.
And then we had the library board stuff that Paul kind of
Yeah.
did a review on, 80 minutes.
So,
Then you got your municipal policing.
yeah. It's all over the place.
And if any of you would like to do the survey, I think it would be great if you did. Before you do it. Before July 4th. Because that will affect what requisitions and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So it'd be really key for elected official input.
Okay. Map completion letter.
Yes, we are done. I am happy. Sorry,
So it's
guys.
all up to snuff.
We are fully in compliance. Everything that we are doing now in our budgeting, tax rates, you name it, we're.
Good.
Our bylaws are into compliance. We just got a new notice for another one we gotta work on, but we'll get that.
Another map inspection.
No, a bylaw that we have to have.
Oh.
It's for electronic. Like doing meetings on Zoom, but for public hearings and stuff. Yeah.
We gotta fix the
You
bylaw.
kinda have it already in your procedural bylaw. That's talking with the one guy at municipal affairs. I just gotta go through that section of the MGA and kind of look at that section in our procedural bylaw for your meetings and kind of make them match. Yes. So we
Okay.
figured it's probably.
All right, so the next item is request for
Yeah.
clarification.
This is the letter we're talking about.
Yes. So the tree maintenance responsibility. So we received the notice because of the windstorm we had. It did knock some trees down in the first and third and fourth, right?
Yeah,
Third and fourth.
third and fourth.
Third and fourth. Municipal reserve area. So we responded after, don't have a lot of area to be able to work with because the original access was done through a handshake agreement with a property owner that properties for sale. We could access through their property to go to the municipal reserve to do any cutting. Problem is with the power line company, they wouldn't have that access.
So we need to back up. Because there is a designed access.
Correct.
So there is a designed access to that MR that is not being used, so
Well,
we had a verbal agreement with the property owner to go through theirs.
No, it was a personal property on First Street towards Buffalo Road.
Yeah.
That's for sale, yeah.
Yeah, but that was the handshake because we weren't using the MR.
Yeah,
Okay,
Because
I
the
wanna make
MR
that's important.
Yeah,
it is, but also Alberta Power or ATCO would not go through that property for power line maintenance because they have to have an agreement on title. Like an easement.
Yes, yes,
yes.
That's the difference.
but which they could have used the MR if it would fit their equipment.
If, if the MR would have been open, there's a difference.
Yeah.
That's our issue,
Okay,
is the properties.
so we need to correct that, that's the underlying problem, is that correct?
Yes.
So,
That's the first problem, is to deal with
so
that.
we need to get,
I'm gonna share this all for you. Hold on.
Yeah, all these to see it.
Alright, it's on my side. Hold on. Yeah, move it over.
Can you see it, Paul?
Yes, I can.
Alright, this part here is our municipal, like this is ours
Yeah.
here. But it's, they're in the pictures provided, it's pretty overgrown,
It's
people are
overgrown.
approaching.
Yeah.
it's a big tree.
Yeah, and where the problem that happened with the tree and the power line was both down here.
Yes.
Yeah,
And the deal was, used to be, the handshake deal was through where it says 138, those
138.
properties there.
Yeah.
But of course, when it comes for the power company,
They won't cross private land without agreement.
and I think this was all done prior to the village being incorporated, is probably, because probably that wasn't a development at this point, I don't know the full
well, the
history of
thing
it.
what happened was that if Fourth Street at one time, so you see that lot, 135.
Yeah.
And they own 3 lots there.
Yep.
So they couldn't access from Buffalo Road down Fourth Street, they had to go all the way
Around.
to First Street and then down Lakeview Avenue. So that road wasn't developed until later, when they
That's
cut
later,
that
so.
hill down.
Yeah.
And I think what the power company, when they put the poles in, thought that the power would be accessible to the front of the properties on Buffalo Road, but they didn't know that. So the other option, instead of whatever, it could be an option to get the power line moved out onto Buffalo Road.
And that could be a request we could try, no guarantee, but we could try it. But if the situation arises in that center, we still have an issue, you can't even get fire in there.
Yeah,
You can't
You
do
don't have
anything.
an access of any kind.
That's right.
Well, a
That's
grab
what
truck
I'm
could
saying.
go through the property, but you're not through their property. I mean, that fire department will go through property, but not with a big fire truck isn't gonna go down through
Yeah,
that.
and with all this stuff in there, with the pictures, you could see,
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's a lot of
Yeah.
that.
and with the new owner, whoever buys, Jim and Pam's place, they have 2 lots there, but, you know, they're not gonna necessarily give access to the village, so.
Yeah.
We gotta.
And nor should they, you know, it's, that was great back then, but
So what I'm looking for is that I would like to work on opening up this access.
Okay.
And first and foremost would be discussions with the property
and then we
owners.
need there's a big tree and then there's a mulcher that would probably have to go in there third.
Yeah, and that will have to come to you in my next phase. I think the first phase is to clean up these encroachments that I need to enforce, that these encroachments have to.
Well, that tree unfortunately there's a power line right through it. Like literally
Yeah,
right through. In fact, I'm surprised it's not going around it. Yes, there's a tree about halfway, a big one, like probably,
right,
Back
I
in
can
the middle.
see it,
You
right
can
by
see
the
it.
house there. Yeah.
No, good.
Oh, there's that
There's a
one.
way bigger tree than that.
Oh, God, there's
Mhm.
even more.
There's a big tree there. I don't know, I lost my pictures now, so help.
Like that one.
Which, nope, it's not in there. But anyway, it's a big tree. And
There's probably quite a few, and it's,
they're probably standing at the tree taking the picture.
like, that is so overgrown in there.
Oh, yeah,
It
but that's
has
a
to-
small tree compared to the one that's in there. It's about an 8-inch base.
Yeah.
Right where that picture,
Pictures where the picture is, you're saying?
yeah, right where the photographer is where that tree is.
Oh,
I think they took something down.
something
No,
about,
there's a big tree.
It's still
I
there.
saw it today. I walked by.
all I know is when I took the picture, I just had to clear that.
Okay, well, we need a motion forward to proceed on that.
So is that just an administrative thing? Wouldn't they just do that as part of their normal, or do they need direction from council?
Well, I guess we could
I would
recommend.
I would normally work on encroachment agreements, so that I would say, well, it's been
But this
there,
is.
this is bigger than that, so I would prefer that. I have clear direction from you guys that you want me to have it opened
So
up.
this needs to be opened up for emergency and utility access. That's what we're going.
Yeah, unless you can get ATCO to move the line, but then you still need to get in there.
It's still fire,
Yeah.
that's just gonna solve one problem, but it
Yeah.
doesn't solve them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. A resolution to
Have
have
administration,
administration contact the property owners on both sides. And get that cleared for safety, including fire access and utility access.
yes.
You good with that?
Yeah. I'm very good with that, it just gives me the support that I have to do this.
Do we need it surveyed?
It's
Yeah.
been surveyed,
Do we have stakes? Do we know exactly what we're clearing to?
It's identical to across the road,
I
yeah,
know what it.
but we should probably, I mean, I think the notification is the first thing.
Yeah.
And then survey and maybe a rail fence, and off of the back of their property, there may have to be a slight bunch of work on there because of the grade.
Yeah, oh no, once we're into the property.
Yeah.
I think first and foremost,
I
on
walked
it,
it.
yeah, the notifications have to go out. If there becomes a bigger issue of where property lines are, there's a couple of options I have.
Well, before we start cutting trees down and all of that, we need to be clear on exactly where the.
Right, but so do they.
Yeah, they do too, yeah.
Yeah, so I wanna be able to have the discussions on it through the process prior to us going any farther, because if it's, the mulching's gonna have to happen, and I'll probably need a budget for that, so I will bring that back.
what's the timeline on this? When does it need to be done? So like, is the power out?
No,
back on.
it's rectified now, but this is something, we need to get this done so that moving forward by next year, we've got an access.
Okay.
Actually, you should, and Pam would give a shit. Just
I walked it.
go over property, or that's how you got in?
No, I walked on the municipal, yeah, I was bushwhacking. But I walked on it, I didn't wanna go on any private property, I walked the MR
Yeah.
into that site.
But Pam would,
I've seen, yeah,
doesn't care.
she had the garage sale, so I was in
Right.
there, yeah.
but if you go to the back of the property and look at where that power line goes, it's just full of trees back there, big trees.
Yeah,
Just
Isn't
full.
that the power line's responsibility?
you
If
think you
it's
get access,
landlocked, they're not going in.
they're not going in. That's why it's up to us
To allow the, to make sure they got access.
somehow unlandlock it.
Well, that's how.
Yeah, that's why.
Okay,
Otherwise,
all in
there's
favor,
access
yep,
gone.
yeah. Doctor recruitment pathway letter, retention letter, and actually they brought some doctors.
Figures. Oh, they worked.
Yeah, like if you have lost a doctor that was, let's say you're going to a doctor and you lost your doctor and you were going to Redden or somewhere, they're giving them people first chance at going back and then they'll open it up to the public.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Good job.
Okay, ASB nominations, closed meeting, none. Need a motion to accept the correspondence?
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you,
And-
Laura doing it.
and all in favor of that, and then get
Adjourning.
the hell, I'm going home for a sandwich.
Everybody's going for lunch.
Yeah, come back at 2.
Everybody's going for lunch and then we will,
Reconvene the MPC.
And just the 13.1 dissolving council for 2025.
We're not doing that until
Yeah.
July.
yeah,
I don't, like it, but tough bananas.
I don't care.
I think there's just so much, yes, I agree.
Okay, Paul, are we having a representative other than a development officer, or are you doing the